Our forefathers fought for liberty, individual freedom, self-expression, and the right to self-determination. They created a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, establishing a nation of free individuals who ignited a bright beacon of hope. America's a land where any person, from any background, can succeed, so long as they endeavor forthright with determination in their heart. A melting pot, the greatest hits album of the human race. We gather here today to renew that sacred bond, that oath to freedom. Welcome to the Marketplace of Ideas. Well, there we are, Kyle. Welcome to the Marketplace of Ideas.
Fantastic. Our inaugural first episode. As James said, I'm your host, Kyle Smith, and with me is James Vagabond. We are bringing you a show that the world desperately needed, another political talk show by two people who know exactly what they're talking about and are extremely qualified to do so.
Incredibly tech-savvy, too, which is why the intro just started playing again while you were talking, Kyle.
Oh, beautiful. You know what? I didn't even know it was playing the first time because I couldn't hear it. So we're a professional show, and we've gotten everything worked out perfectly. We have a very special guest, one that is far more special than we deserve for this.
That's right. Let me take this intro, Kyle. We have for you today a very famous and incredible talent today. We have sexual icon and communist trans superstar CounterPoints for you today. And we'll just why don't you drag them into the channel for us?
Sure.
CounterPoints. Hey, trans YouTuber CounterPoints, can we see your camera? Hello? Good afternoon? Good evening? Oh, Lord.
Oh, boy. Off to a great start here in the Marketplace of Ideas.
Uh-oh. Got a message.
Where the guests are unable to talk.
All right, I'm getting messages. I'm in the waiting room. I don't have perms, turn on camera or microphone. Dear God. All right, let's get that camera and microphone going, Kyle.
Sure.
Oh, dear Lord.
Don't worry, it's all going exactly the way we want it to.
Yeah, we're setting expectations low so that we can rise above them each week. Imagine if we started this show off perfectly and everything worked.
Would have been terrible.
Would have been terrible. We could have never lived up to it a second time. With only 6 months to prepare for our first show.
Well, you know. Now, if I've done things correctly, Counterpoint should be able to talk and show his face.
Good evening and welcome. Oh, he still can't talk.
Beautiful. This is what happens when you decide that the stage just isn't good enough and you gotta have an emergency voice channel.
God bless America.
God bless America, indeed. Whatever. Apparently anybody can join now, so we should be good to go.
And we still can't hear him.
Beautiful. Love it.
He's going to come out and back in. It looks like his sign language said for us today. Alrighty. Please, God.
All right.
Oh my God. Okay.
Everything going according to plan here in the inaugural.
Well, yeah, but aren't you? I don't know if you guys are like engineers or whatever, but like, isn't that the problem with over engineering things? Is
buddy, I'm a music school dropout. I know nothing about engineering.
Oh, okay. Well, back when I was doing my 3D printed design bolter gun, I put in the video. I was like, I'm not an engineer. I don't know what I'm doing. I just measured and printed and measured and printed and measured and printed and measured and printed. And then I had 3 separate engineers in my comments say, I'm an engineer and that's what I do. So that's like, yeah, you learn by failing.
Exactly. And we're learning a lot today, I would say. So thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure to have you. We don't deserve you. So
I would just like to bereave the joke that I tried to set up here, which was introducing you as trans superstar CounterPoints. And then,
it got buried.
and then when your
unfortunately.
camera came on, I was hoping to say she changed back. And but that joke's ruined forever. So fantastic.
Weirdly enough, though, I have a video from like 2018 or 2019 where I was like, I don't know what to call the show. I like ContraPoints. I'm gonna do counterpoints, and it was like a scripted video. The camera zoomed out all the way back here. It's in a 4:3 aspect ratio. It's like a 10-minute uninterrupted rant about some current event in 2018, 2019. So she unironically inspired me a little bit.
Wow.
And then not just that, but I'm friends with Riley Grace Rochong, who is friends with Natalie in real life. And I asked RGR to introduce me a couple of times, and she was like, "Oh, Natalie's a recluse. She doesn't like meeting new people."
Sure. Not surprised. That's the sensitive artiste, the deep artiste.
We'll be counterpoints and ContraPoints will be friends one day.
Hopefully, that would be a generational collaboration.
Yeah, she's brilliant. I think obviously she's stuck in her fortress arc, as are many lefties who are scared of their own audience. But yeah, it's I'm hoping for good content from her for years to come.
Well, let's hope for some good content here tonight. Don't know if there's many people watching, but hopefully they'll at least.
We got 50, and we only started 15 minutes ago. So for a night stream, and
hey,
all right, let's do this.
Competing with the big dogs who are all live, that's not a bad start.
Beautiful.
My goodness. Well, we're happy to have you all here.
Everybody head to the YouTube page at the Marketplace of Ideas. Like, subscribe, pretend we're interesting, just like we do, and plan to do every week from now on.
I did share the Discord link in the chat. I will do so intermittently throughout our conversation.
Beautiful.
Oh, that would be lovely. For any joiners to the Discord, we do run a little meme marketplace here in the Marketplace of Ideas. You can spend our fake currency that we call Grift Coin. You can use it to buy fake stocks based on various ideologies. We are planning on rolling out some games and seasonal challenges as we develop and figure out how computers work.
A little bit of team sports.
Yes, with a little bit of team sports. We've also got some individual debate challenges that you can do, and you can also join the call-in list. And now you might just join the call-in list and take your luck with luck of the draw. But if you want to bid for priority, you can do so by spending a little bit of that Grift Coin. You're going to get a little bit of free Grift Coin just for joining the server, and there's some other ways that you can get some without spending any money. But if you do want to support our channel, you can join our Patreon and support us that way. So either way, if
we're
all
starting
you do
off with
us,
the shilling before we even, let's step
no,
back.
Great.
Let's get straight into the money.
Well,
give us money. Now.
No. The shill lets people know that you're confident enough to be worthy of their time and attention. You must do so unrepentantly.
However,
let's step back and let's talk about the philosophy of the show here. Okay, let's talk about what the purpose of the marketplace.
Before we do, the last thing I did want to say though is times are tough, and if you can't afford to support us right now and you're just watching, that's enough support for now. We hope to earn your support later.
Please join the waiting room, not the main show. We set this up last minute because we tried to use the stage format, and it was just weird and wasn't working, wasn't formatting correctly. Why don't you mess with the perms again?
Behave yourself.
Oh, we'll be happy to talk to Grassroots. I've always wanted to hear that man's unabated stream of consciousness over whatever. Usually I only hear him in chats. I'm looking forward to that. So let's back up and let's discuss the general philosophy, the purpose, what we're here for today.
Well, this all kind of started with me watching various online streamers, debaters, enjoying the overall theme of online debate, but a lot of the content veers into bad faith territory, looping arguments that never actually touch the content that they're supposed to go over. And so with this marketplace, what we're hoping to bring is a community that is focused on good faith debating, where everything is nobody's trying to get lost in arguments about definitions. Nobody's trying to do gotchas. Nobody's trying to just meme on each other. But
Except when we are just here to meme on each other. We want to live
Yeah,
on both sides of that coin.
we're not above a good meme
Good
here.
fun,
So,
bad faith. Good fun, bad
Indeed.
faith. Good faith, except when it's time to have too much fun, and then we do that.
and
That's
if you want
the
to call
hope.
in, if you could just bring that attitude to the call in, we would be most excited to have you.
If you'd like to come in good faith and drop your deepest, most heartfelt ideas, please do so. But if you just want to come on here and make a mockery of everything you hate in politics, please do that as well. If you
Yes.
want to come in and pretend to be a Republican, we would love that. If you want to come in and pretend to be a communist and you hate communist ideals, please come in and straw man the people that you disagree with and hate. We just want to
And-
have fun. This show is about the community and expressing yourselves. We want this to be a free speech zone. We want this to be a place where people come together, have fun, and see each other beyond the political disagreements. And that is a monumental task that we have very little illusions that we will except
So if you
having
wanna-
a good time.
So if you want to join us, come to our Discord server and jump into the waiting room. We're going to be taking call-ins a little bit later. Before we do, though, I had a few things, and so did James, to discuss some recent happenings in the news. Why don't we start with something sexy, something exciting? Trade deficits. We have a widening trade deficit, according to some recent articles. Connor, have you paid much attention to the trends of the trade deficit?
I mean, I'm vaguely aware of Donald Trump engaging in international protectionism.
You've heard of this? You've heard of this?
Yeah. So effectively tariffing the crap out of our allies, our friends, even our enemies, our rivals, et cetera, et cetera.
Islands
but
of penguins.
oftentimes, like the negotiated deals that we're getting back are worse than what we had before we started the negotiation tact. So, for instance, like China, we did a thing where we announced that they're going to buy like 20 million or billion tons of soy or wheat or whatever. Well, that was what they had purchased every single year for the past like 5 years.
But in the W column.
And we had to give them trade concessions. So it's unsurprising to me that the Trump administration is pretending it's a victory while simultaneously putting us in a worse position than we already were.
Yeah, so the figures that we've gotten recently. Let me share my screen here. Recent articles from last Thursday and referencing last Thursday show that our deficit has increased from 29.2 billion in October to over 56 billion in November, almost 100% increase. And at the same time, exports fell, imports climbed. Now, to be clear, one of the things that is tricky when looking up any sort of data about trade deficits is different articles are reporting different figures. One of the things that I was running into a lot when researching this topic is dealing with cumulative trade deficit versus the current trade deficit. So just to be clear, just because people are going to point it out, in January 2025, our trade deficit coming out of Biden's term was 131 billion or so. So we're down from there, but the decrease from 131 billion to 29.2 billion and then jumping up by almost 100%, do you think that indicates that we're trending in the wrong direction? Or is this
it depends on how you perceive international economics, right? So it's kind of whether or not you take a rising tides raise all ships perspective, or whether or not you take like a 19th or 18th century English silver and opium perspective. For those of you who don't know, the Chinese Opium Wars were actually predicated on the fact that England was buying tea and silk and porcelain from China, and it was expending silver to do so. But as a result, its silver reserves were being depleted, and it didn't feel like China was buying anything from England. So in its anxiety, in order to like shore up their depleting silver reserves, they actually invaded China and at musket point forced the Chinese emperor to sign a treaty allowing them to sell opium to China for the silver that they themselves were paying for other commodities. Now, on one hand,
Based.
that's probably the most like morally abhorrent shit I've ever heard in my entire life. On the other hand, they're trying to stabilize commodities in a time in which the average person doesn't even understand the concept of a commodity. So my point is, though, that F-35s, F-22s, SR-71s, the F-47s, the naval carrier groups, microchips from Taiwan, microchips from Korea, microchips from Israel, these are all things that are a part of like the American commercial empire. And so we don't need to point a gun at China and say, hey, buy our soybeans or else. Like we should have moved past this philosophically, economically, and that only in the 18th or 19th century economic thinking could shrinking the trade deficit be a good thing.
The reason that I wanted to talk about this, I don't know much about the economy. I'm not qualified to speak on it, but a lot of the discussions that I had before Trump was elected revolved around this idea that the trade deficit was just too damn wide and we needed to do something about it. The number has decreased overall, yes, but with these recent trends, it seems as though this, I mean, at the very least, we don't really have a good reason to expect it to just keep decreasing based on these tariff policies. There was an article that was published in 2025. A couple of Italian economists posted this, predicting that the tariff policy was not going to reduce our trade deficit. What did they bring up? If investment continues to outpace savings, whether due to low household saving, large fiscal deficits, or both, then trade deficits are inevitable. The U.S. cannot reduce imports without changing the underlying flows of capital. Second, even if tariffs succeed in reducing imports, which we know at this point that they are at least not doing that consistently, the only way to generate a trade surplus would be to either increase saving or reduce investment. We didn't do that, did we? My understanding is that number's gone up quite a bit as well.
Well, even if they're talking about on a household economic level, on a consumer level or whatever, that's where we effectively, one of the things that happened during the Trump economy where he started slapping all these random countries with tariffs is there's businesses that are exclusively import businesses. So they take commodities from overseas, they mass import them, they hit them with an increase in price, moderate, but they hit them with an increase in price, and then they sell them on American shelves with American branding. Well, the problem with the tariffs is that like doubled or tripled or increased by 20 or 40%, these random commodities that were being imported. There was no new economic activity that was generated as a result of this. All Trump did was make foreign imports more expensive for US consumers. Now, the argument from the Trump administration is, well, this will force Americans to buy more local American goods because foreign imports are going to be more competitive with domestic products. But as they admitted in the past 6 months, because they're totally economically illiterate, is that there are some products that we just don't make here. We don't make coffee, or we don't make coffee anywhere near as much as we need to meet demand. We don't make bananas or oranges in order to meet demand. We don't make beef in order to meet demand. So all you really did is you just increase the prices of random consumer goods. And when Americans were already fucked because of, COVID inflation, I guess is the best way to say it, COVID-related inflation, the worst off people were the people most fucked by this.
It's almost as though building your economic policy on what worked in the 1890s is not the best approach to the modern day, yeah?
Yeah, but I mean, try telling that to anybody on the campaign trail where effectively like your rhetoric can be, I'm going to make things good and bad things are going to stop if you vote for me. And then that's successful as a policy. Or excuse me, not as a policy. That's successful as rhetoric to get you elected.
Well, I think that's a good touch point to talk about I'd say the biggest problem we have in our society right now is just the lack of education in politics and how our world works, and how do we move beyond talking about these things at the lowest common denominator at really low resolution speaking points that don't really get us anywhere. It's
You embrace it. This is the democratization.
you
of
just
media,
meme
Rich.
past it.
It's no. Only reason why you and I and all of us have a show is because of mass imported goods, the democratization of media that allows us to have a voice, that allows us to have a microphone and a camera and all that kind of stuff. So we have to fight it off in the proverbial marketplace of ideas. But we have to make good ideas sexy, and that's hard because oftentimes good ideas are long-winded and annoying.
So, gentlemen, I hate to interrupt, but we apparently are having some more technical difficulties. Exciting times here on the marketplace of ideas. Apparently, I'm getting a report that our YouTube is currently a black screen. James, I don't suppose you'd be able to whatever the proper word is for undoing that. Reboot, or whatever else the technical term might be. I certainly don't know.
We're just going to go to full stream. We're just going to go to full stream.
Or OBS or whatever, you just need to reset it and share the screen.
I'm just going to go to full screen. I figured it out. OBS is working.
All right. Sorry, I hated to interrupt that flow, but we really needed to get that back on track.
Absolutely.
So, that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. James, what's something that you wanted to bring to the discussion today?
What is something that I wanted to bring to discussion? What else is on our news list, Kyle? I'm streaming, so I can't pull up the news list because I just switched it to full stream.
I was about to say, guys, we got the Epstein files. We got
there's a million things
getting shot by ICE. There's plenty of stuff going on. It's popping off.
We've got
the
a bunch
Epstein
of
files. Yeah, we definitely want to talk about that. I figured we would save that towards the end of our little news segment here. Yeah, let's talk about what's going on in Minnesota. So I've watched a bit of your stream. Here's my assessment of my understanding of your perspective on these shootings that have been happening. Probably not anything that's convictable, probably considered legal, but maybe an indication of some pretty bad training and certainly a bad look. Is that correct, or would you make any changes?
No, they're immoral, or the Renee Good shooting is immoral because of officer caused jeopardy. Effectively, that officer, has been dragged by a vehicle in the past. He walked in front of the vehicle the first time. The second time, he kind of forced the situation for officer caused jeopardy. But you're not going to be able to convict him off of that. A vehicle is still considered a deadly weapon, and so as a result, you need to rewrite the laws. And you need to create new legal concepts. The way that Terry versus Ohio created the Terry stop, the way that we took case law and broke in new legal rationales is what needs to happen with the Renee Good case and also the Felix versus Barnes case, where we create the concept of officer caused jeopardy, where an officer negligently or maliciously forces a situation as a pretext to use force. That's what we should be able to glean out of that. And then in reference to what was that guy, Alex Preddy, there's moral things here where I think the guy is, he's using his First Amendment rights to protest ICE. He's using his Second Amendment rights to be armed. But if my children ask me, hey, I'm going to go protest ICE, I'm going to keep a pistol on my person, I'm going to be like, that's a fucking horrible idea and you're going to get killed. So, there's moral, then there's common sense, then there's legal. And once again, I don't think the officers are going to be incarcerated, but there are policy suggestions I have where we could reduce the amount of deaths, bad deaths caused by cops in reference to the Preddy situation as well.
I'd definitely be curious to hear about those.
Yeah.
Well, the main one that I have in reference to Preddy in particular is I think that really what happened was there was confusion about where the gun was. Okay. So some people are saying that the guy saw that the Mr. Preddy was disarmed and he just wanted to use it as a pretext for murder. I don't buy that. I've heard that out of Pisco. I've heard that out of Destiny. I don't believe that. What I think is that guy heard another officer saying, he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. He read that as Preddy has a gun and he's going for it. And then he used that as justification for deadly force. However, I think that it was either the guy who disarmed Preddy who was yelling that, or another officer who was watching the disarm who was yelling that. And so as a result, communication needs to improve. So what I would say is, gun or knife when screamed out by an officer should be an indication that there's a certain kind of weapon on scene and the suspect is going for it, so officers can be aware and make their decisions like off of that. But if you actually have seized the weapon, I think there needs to be a different word for that, like disarmed.
Disarm.
And so instead of yelling gun, 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 you would yell disarmed, disarmed, disarmed. That way, if somebody else sees that there's a weapon and you've grabbed it, they're not going to use that as a pretext to kill someone. I do have another suggestion to reduce police homicides, but we could start with that.
Sure. Now, there was a recent report that put out by the DHS that apparently 2 officers shot Freddie. Did you see that?
Yep.
Now, I had a hard time syncing that fact up with the videos when I watched it. Were you able to rewatch those videos and see that, or is it just kind of lost in the chaos of it all?
It's largely lost in the chaos, but the one guy who definitely shot and probably shot the majority of the rounds is the guy who was like standing over the gray sweater guy who was doing the disarm. I think that guy was wearing like a green sweatshirt. He's probably responsible for a majority of the shots. And then I think just another officer who was effectively on the left-hand side of Preddy, he also like backed up, pulled his weapon and fired, but he would have been operating off of the fact that his fellow officer backed up, pulled, and fired. So I don't have very much. I think the inciting incident, or not the inciting incident, I think the reason why Alex Preddy's dead is due to miscommunication.
Oh. I mean, miscommunication, that certainly is a good way to assess the way that it's been presented by the Trump administration. There's been a lot
fuck the Trump administration.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's for all the discussion that's been had about whether or not it was legal, whether or not it's moral, whether we need to adjust the training methods for ICE agents. I think the one thing that anybody who's sane should agree on is that jumping to the conclusions that these people are domestic terrorists, that they're assassins, that they're crisis actors or whatever the hell, before we even get an investigation is pretty insane. Unhinged, I would say.
It's not just insane, but the liberals and libertarians were predicting this as far back as 2001, 2002 after 9/11. They said the whole reason why we don't like the Patriot Act, the whole reason why we don't like the violations of the Fourth Amendment under the Patriot Act, the whole reason why we don't like these blanket labelings of terrorism and then suspending people's rights so you can torture them in black sites is because eventually whatever we approve for foreigners is what we're going to use as excuses for domestic citizens. Now, it's taken a decade and a half or 2 decades for it to roost. And I do think that the Trump administration is uniquely incompetent and evil. But if there was a more competent, Republican presidency that was doing the same thing, I'd be freaking the fuck out.
James, you got something for us?
Yeah.
I heard a breath out of you.
I just feel like a lot of there's a fair argument to be made on either side of either of these incidents. I personally think that both of them were unjustified. The Freddie shooting was more unjustified, but I feel like these are going to live as distractions in the more important conversation, which is that the executive, the Trump administration, is not intending to hold these people accountable, whether they are doing illegal shootings or not. They are not going to be held accountable for the training of these people, which, by all reports, seems to be very substandard. More important to me than these arguments of the legality, which we've all got opinions on, it's incredible to me to see people continue to support this administration when they are declaring these people terrorists and enemies of the state with no evidence, before they've even done anything approximating investigation. Day of the shooting, everything's fog of war, and who knows what could come up that could prove one thing or the other. They're coming out and just calling these people terrorists with no evidence.
This is why I like living in a free society, though, where we have freedom of conscience, freedom of speech, the right to express ourselves on social media, the ability to film law enforcement, et cetera, because I think that narrative is only going to play well with the cult. And with the cult, I do, generally speaking, mean people over the age of 60 who stopped thinking for themselves a decade ago, and as a result will just regurgitate whatever they hear on Newsmax. And weirdly enough, Fox News is more moderate than Newsmax right now. You know what I'm saying? Like Fox News isn't even they're not even the radical wing of the media establishment anymore. So
yeah, and they've got their token liberal folks on there that they include just to keep things, at least give a facade of balance, whereas Newsmax makes no effort to do so.
well, a lot of people really like the female liberal that they brought on to
I do.
Fox News.
Yeah.
I don't know her name, but there was this program. I think it was Hannity and Combs, and so Combs was like a really sad, like
I remember.
Good stuff.
liberal, and Hannity would just like beat the shit out of him like every single conversation.
Yeah, his little
and
pencil neck dude.
yeah, so compare that to the new chick who I don't know her name, but pretty much every single liberal and progressive friend I have, they like her because they feel like she throws elbows to the extent that she's about to lose her job, but not quite enough to lose her job. So the new Combs, whoever that lady is, she's apparently doing a good job.
She's almost a token sane person for the Fox News, so that they can point at her and go, see, we are fair and balanced. We have one sane person who doesn't lie to you constantly.
Yeah, but it's not Combs.
Jessica Tarlov, somebody saying in chat.
Respect on her name.
Yeah, much more so than Combs, who just exuded weak energy. Yeah,
if that was a person, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I think there's a reason why that she probably won't get fired unless she does something super extreme, like transes her own kid or something, or like live streams her abortion. And the reason why is because similar to, weirdly enough, I think that Dylan Burns, the guy who used to run Twitch and YouTube Politics like a wrestling show,
respect on his name.
He was a visionary in some ways, where like nobody wants to. Well, I don't want to say nobody. 70% of the audience doesn't want to watch like a calm, cool, collected, adult, policy-based outline PowerPoint presentation. They want to watch personality A rip personality B to shreds, and then they want to come back next week where personality C gets revenge on the victor. And so it's basically nerd wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason they don't mute the mics on Piers Morgan. They could absolutely mute those microphones, but that would kill half of the enjoyment of the show, is the interruption.
Or the killer clips that get everybody to click on the thing in the first place.
Sure. Now going back to the situation with ICE, we did get a little bit of a they threw us a bone by demoting Bovino, and we've heard a lot less from Kristi Noem and a little bit more from Tom Homan, who at least understands how to appear like a human being. Did you watch his recent speech where he espoused a desire to see an end to the bloodshed and how he doesn't want anybody to die? And what's your take on Homan?
Homan's like a cop first and foremost. That's the way that I've always perceived him, is basically like a bulldog turned into a human. So I do have respect from him in that degree, but I also think that he is kind of a guy who I always ask the question, like, what's the law enforcement purpose served? So, for instance, we had that 5-year-old and that adult who were, I think, detained in New York. It could have been someplace else. But effectively, it's like the dad doesn't have a criminal record. There was nobody who was able to watch the kid. They like incarcerated them over the course of 72 hours. A judge just ordered their release on like humanitarian grounds. And I'm just thinking to myself, there was no higher law enforcement purpose served, regardless of whether or not those people were incarcerated or whether or not those people were on the street. You didn't make the American public any safer. And so I think Tom Homan, as much as I can respect the cop aesthetic that he so clearly embodies, I think he's lost that, where he kind of has that like clear black and white thinking of like, well, the law's the law and all this bad shit correlates with immigration. Therefore, I'm going to be an immigration hawk. And if I have to fuck over good people in order to enforce the law, I don't care. That's my role in society. And that's kind of my read on him, is he's lost the bigger picture.
I'll give a take on Homan. I think he looks kind of badass when he twists his pinky ring in a sort of like old school mobster sort of way. I think that's a good look. I think that's
like a fat, out of shape mobster.
Well, I mean, shit, man. You get old, it gets hard to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching a lot of Sopranos and Goodfellas clips, so I'm just thinking to myself like, when the first mobster movies came out in like the 70s and 80s, they were portrayed by like younger 30 and 40-year-old guys, and then like the old heads were like 50 and 60-year-old fat guys with pinky rings. But now that everybody's old as shit and the mob has been like destroyed, all the mob movies are like 40 to 70-year-old fat men shooting each other in the even if you watch The Sopranos, which is like 20 years old now, it's like 40 to 70-year-old men fat like shooting each other over tens of thousands of dollars.
They can't even bury the bodies anymore. They're too fat. They're just
Vito was too fat to like kill. Like they had to leave his corpse. They couldn't even chop him up. He was too fat.
And then there's that scene from The Irishman where a digitally youngified Robert De Niro like waddles over while trying not to break a hip, and like kind of does his best to swing his foot into the guy on the ground and make it look like he's kicking him.
Totally misses. Dude, he did like a Jedi force kick. So hold on. When I was a child, I watched the Return of the Jedi or whatever.
Sure.
And I've watched it a million times, never noticed this, and somebody ruined the movie for me.
Oh no.
And they slow it down when Luke Skywalker in the first 20 minutes is on the skiff and he kicks a bad guy off the side of Jabba the Hutt's skiff. And misses the guy by like 2 feet. And somebody posted like a GIF of Luke Skywalker like missing the guy by 2 feet. But then Mark Hamill jumps into the quote tweets and he's like, perfectly executed force kick. All right.
Saved. Saved it.
I was like, that's still mad corny, but it works. Whereas I don't think fat Italian mobsters have force powers. So I think I'm just stuck watching Robert De Niro haphazardly kicking a guy on the ground, which was not done well.
I mean, that they didn't have force healing in the original trilogy either. So maybe it's like that, where they just keep adding powers, and the older that the mobsters get, the more unbelievable feats they'll be able to show on screen.
Right. They'll become like the Jedi, in that they're like a legendary mythological force that nobody truly knows whether or not they existed or not, and they'll just develop like Italian superpowers.
Except instead of being fueled by the Force, they're fueled by gabagool.
Yeah, I was gonna go with the pasta, but that's perfect.
I just love saying gabagool.
It's a fun word. Speaking of mobsters, Trump suing the IRS for $10 billion. I don't know if there's much to really expand on here. It's his upteenth lawsuit and however long he's been in the public eye. Just thought we'd bring it up. Probably a bad thing.
I need Steven and Pisco and allegedly sane liberals to stop Fed posting about like killing ICE agents and shit. Okay, because like right now,
Democrats don't do it, guys.
Well, no, I have plenty to disagree with the Democrats, but I think MAGA needs to be punished, and the best way to punish MAGA is by them losing the midterms, both in the Senate and in the House. And I know the stats on the Senate are like not great for a complete flip, but at the same time, like what was it? There was a state senator in Texas in an off-year election who won in a Trump plus 17 district. Ooh. And it was a Democrat. So it was like a 30-point swing in the opposite direction. So while rare, while unlikely, it's possible. And so if we don't have a summer of love, if we don't have riots, if we don't have the mass murders of ICE agents on the streets, and then like Antifa people,
no dipshit protesters, okay? No dipshit protesters.
Don't post. Just roll into the midterms and dominate the fucking midterms, and then at that point you could impeach Trump for all the crazy shit that he's been doing. But if you don't have the House and you don't have the Senate, you don't have shit. And I think that's where the Fed posting and the black pilling on the verge. Sorry if I'm yapping, but like on the verge of victory, by the way. All the political momentum is with the Democrats right now. It's never been better to be a Democrat in the past, 3 years. Well, 2 years, I suppose. Or year and a half, I guess. Actually.
Without even having to have something to stand for yet. We don't even have to stand for anything yet. We just have to stand against what's happening.
Right. And then you could sweep the midterms, impeach Trump for him basically violating FARA left, right, and center, impeach him for all of his criminal shit, impeach him for any Epstein shit that is actually like plausibly, provable as bad shit he does. And then boom, at minimum, Trump is a lame duck. At maximum, he's impeached. Well, at maximum, he's impeached and removed from office in the stress he dies of natural causes. And you damage JD Vance for the next election because he's the prince.
He's tarred with the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely. It's almost the only election that Chuck Schumer might be up to leading, just because all we have to do is get out of the way and not be insane on Twitter. But let's see if the left is capable of that.
Murder people.
Yeah.
Commit arson.
You can hit a 9 on the insane, but don't hit the 10. That's all we need to do.
Don't write articles in the New York Times that says like arson is the voices of the unheard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Epstein and the New York Times, why don't we talk
wait. Before you switch to that, why don't we just so we were going to do some news and debate reviews, sort of segmented, but since we're just kind of chatting about the whole thing, we've lost a little bit of we've gone a little off the rails of the plan here. Why don't we go into the debate review of Wick versus Rob Noor?
Sure. Oh, please. I actually haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it. It's glorious. It's glorious. I've got it loaded up here. Where are we at? Who knows where we're... Okay, it's actually good.
I'm sorry. Can I address something in chat real quick?
Absolutely.
So, impeaching Trump brings the lawfare back to the forefront. This creates a worse situation, brings us closer to an actual civil war. I'm sorry. If Donald Trump has provably committed fraud, making the Biden family look cute by comparison in reference to corruption, and if he's raped kids, then I still want him impeached, General Balzac. I'm sorry that you don't want him impeached, even if he's like a child rapist and a provable fraud. But, maybe we should just go with that.
Oh, General Balzac. If you want to expand on this issue, feel free to join our Discord server and jump in the waiting room. We will be
I'll post it in the links.
I couldn't think of a greater first guest than General Balzac.
Let's hope that he's willing to jump in and defend his claim. James, you were working on bringing up a debate.
I had it up. I swear to God, I had it up. Now the YouTube search algorithm
I'm aware of it happening. So I think what happened was Pisco and Rob were hanging out, and then Rob started talking shit about Wick, saying he was a coward because Wick was Fed posting, and then Wick showed up and challenged Rob on who was the coward, and then that spawned the fight. And I think it was posted to Wick TV.
Yeah, things got a bit heated in that one.
It'd be really just fun. Loving the YouTube search algorithm.
Isn't it so much fun?
It's gotten so much better over the last couple of months.
Where you type in what you want and then it gives you about 10 things that you don't want.
That are almost it. They're kind of sort of almost it.
Yeah, Hippo says Wick versus Rob Noor. I like Wick, but I don't think he can compete with ChatGPT. It's Claude. Okay, Rob Noor uses Claude.
Is that his favorite?
I think that was the meme during the Destiny debate where Destiny asked him if he'd read something. And he's like, "Oh, I've read summaries," but then it ended up being an AI summary that was inaccurate.
Yeah.
I think it was Claude.
I think I remember that one. James, while you're bringing that up, and since we're talking about debates, I wanted to talk to you about the debate that you had recently with Andrew Wilson, discussing the virtues or lack thereof of establishing Christian nationalism for America. Sure. How did you enjoy that discussion?
Well, Andrew and I have a weird relationship. I was with him when, he was like a 50 viewer, I'm a 50 viewer shitter, but when he was a 50 viewer shitter, kind of just starting out the Crucible. And so I went onto that show a few times, had some spicy debates with him. And I noticed that he was the kind of guy that you cannot let him steamroll you or he will fucking, he'll make you grab your ankles. But if you're feisty and you fight back and you hold your ground and you don't get overly emotional, then typically you can actually have a decent conversation. And so in reference to that one, I do think we had a decent conversation, but I think that I view him as a part of a sales funnel. where the funnel is, the bottom of the funnel is the dissident right. It's the far right. It's the Christian authoritarian right. And he's positioned on this part of the funnel where effectively he's taking like red pillars and black
That are
pillars
starting to
and,
slide down.
you know, ortho bros and all that kind of stuff. And he kind of feeds people into that mechanism. And I think that's most illustrated during that conversation when I ask him about like constitutionally violating things. And he's just like, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem as long as it was biblically accurate. So
Right, we have with us here today the man, the myth, the legend, General Balsack. With
What's up, man?
what was his claim?
That we should, like, no matter what, Trump should not be impeached because, well, I'm putting no matter what in there because it puts us on the path to civil war. But I will say that General Balsack needs he needs to make sure that he can unmute himself so we can hear him.
General Balzac, it looks like there's nothing.
Yeah, I'm still working on it here.
Okay,
we got it. We can hear you loud and clear.
General Balzac, thank you so much for joining us on the Marketplace of Ideas. Do you feel like Connor's assessment of your position is accurate, or is there anything you wanted to amend about that? Oh, can't hear you again. It seems as though you've muted yourself, and we are now seeing indication that the microphone is off.
Which is funny because it was working like a second ago.
When he was trying to go, what's happening?
Click a button.
It's all right. You're on theme here. We've had all sorts of technical difficulties in the Marketplace of Ideas' first episode.
I told you can't expect it to be smooth the first time. You can't.
No. I certainly didn't. Hey, quite frankly, it's going better than I thought it would. Oh, we've got you here.
I got it. Sorry about my.
No problem. How you doing?
You are in good company with not being on top of your technology. It's all right.
I didn't have to go behind the computer to repair it.
Beautiful.
Good.
That's the start. Good. So why don't you tell us first? What are your political inclinations? Where do you identify as a certain ideology or political group?
I would consider myself a Reagan Republican.
A Reagan Republican, all right.
Well,
okay. What do you think the likelihood? Well, I don't want to take over if you guys don't want me to take over, but
no,
go ahead.
You were saying that we should not be hoping for impeachment through the midterms because that would put us onto the path of civil war. If Donald Trump, for instance, if he sued the IRS for $10 billion and he's the chief executive of the United States, and so he awards himself $10 billion from his own lawsuit, effectively tripling his net worth at taxpayer expense. And or he's been doing all these like crypto coins in order to take foreign investment and then giving political favor to foreign entities to a degree that makes the Bidens laughable by comparison. And then on top of that, he's alleged to have participated in like child sex trafficking 30 years ago. Why shouldn't this man be impeached?
The child sex trafficking has not been established. If it is, then yeah. I'm fine with him going to.
So there is a line for you at some point, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always a line.
You just don't think that we've crossed this line at that point.
What about the thing that I'm talking about though? And I'm not going to grill you on it too hard, but as an example,
go ahead. I'm
grill him.
Okay, well, I was going to say, so Jared Kushner, as an example, he was working as a consultant with the State Department during Trump 1. He helped broker the Abraham Accords, which I actually applaud him for, which is effectively like Israel normalizing relations with Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states. But then what ended up happening immediately after he left office was the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia voted to give him a $200 billion management fund from their sovereign wealth fund. And this alone is going to make Jared Kushner a billionaire separate from his father-in-law and separate from his wife. So if I'm supposed to be ass mad about Hunter, which I am, by the way, because I try to be principled, but if I'm supposed to be ass mad about Hunter, doing some tax evasion and taking $10 million over the course of 10 years, why wouldn't I be mad about Jared Kushner?
It's not an issue at all.
It's not an issue.
I don't know why you're bringing it up.
Well, wait, Hunter Biden's not an issue, or Jared Kushner's not an issue?
Yeah, no. Hunter Biden isn't an issue either.
Why not?
We've already gone past that. It's already passed. Do you think that everybody cares about Hunter Biden or
Well, Merrick
Jared
Garland
Kushner?
and the Department of Justice was ready to hit him with like half a dozen felonies and 3 or 4 misdemeanors until his father pardoned him on his way out of office. So yeah, people were pissed about that for
There
sure.
was 2 years of investigations,
I
and it's one
wasn't
of
happy
maybe
with
the biggest issues that changed the outcome of the 2024 elections. You could say we're past it, but
Or
that's because we're
well, hold on. Was it the
both.
God, was it
Both.
24
20,
elections?
Let-
22,
I'll
I
say
think it
both,
was.
2020 and 2024. 2020 was when the laptop was released, but it stayed an issue the entire time.
Yep.
Like,
And it was arguable that in
Thanks for the check.
16 with the just real quick, in 16 it was arguable that the FBI announcing like 2 weeks or a month before the election that they were reopening a criminal investigation into Hillary Clinton over her handling of secured materials. Like Clinton and some other Democrats cited that as part of the reason why they lost the election.
yeah, so these
the whole
kinds of
point it is-
investigations absolutely.
She didn't lose the election because she was a dumbass with her computer.
You could give
well,
a million
I would
reasons
argue
why,
so as well, but doesn't it all count?
but this affected it, yes. These types of investigations absolutely can change public opinion on these elections, right?
True.
You think so if
So
we're
why doesn't it matter?
Because we're past it. That was 10 years ago, man.
Well, yeah, but if I murdered someone 10 years ago and like the feds come back to me and they're like, hey, you murdered someone. And I go, hey, it's 10 years ago, man. Nobody, everybody's moved on. Nobody cares anymore.
So should
well,
we
and but
prosecute
that's
everybody?
not we're not talking about the things that happened 10 years ago. We're talking about the things that are happening today and whether or not those should affect the
Exactly.
next election. Yeah, but you're saying that they shouldn't matter, that we shouldn't worry about
Okay,
it.
well, hold on. So if Trump, so let's say Jared Kushner is in the past, that's water under the bridge. That was Trump 1, not Trump 2. Okay, well, with Trump 2, he's done
The Bitcoin
crypto,
scams,
which
yeah.
means that he created a fake money that then you can invest in.
Anonymously.
And if you invest millions or tens of millions of dollars into this fake money, then you get political considerations and access to the Trump administration, which in my opinion is just bribery and corruption.
Naked
by another
bribery.
name. And this is to the tunes of tens of millions or billions of dollars. So this is happening now. Why don't we care about that?
We do.
I mean, if we do, then why wouldn't we impeach?
There needs to be a specific reason why there is an impeachment going on. We can't
Well, I
do it
would
like you can't do it the same way that Clinton got impeached. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he deserved his impeachment.
Sure.
Right, but why wouldn't I just say, hey, the UAE gave us a $400 million jet that Trump plans on outfitting, replacing Air Force One, but then donating it to the Trump library as a part of its inventory. So he basically got like a $500 million gift from the UAE, and then the UAE got upgraded equipment and training with like the American military immediately after gifting Trump, a $500 million plane. Why wouldn't I just say, hey, this is like naked bribery, extortion, and corruption? Well, not extortion, but naked corruption and bribery.
Is someone giving money to you a bad thing?
If it's for bribery and I'm a public officer,
Oh yeah, no,
cop,
I'm familiar. I'm familiar with the XYZ affair. So yes, I agree.
Well, hold on. So I'm a cop, and you're like a known drug dealer, and then you give me $10,000 for no reason, and I promise it doesn't affect my judgment of how I treat you. Do you think that giving me money is a bad thing in that case?
That's a very different situation, and you know it.
How? The president is infinitely more powerful than any street cop.
Because there's no law on the international stage.
I mean, I could take a look at it right now. I think as a matter of fact, I'll take
yeah,
a look at what a president can be impeached for.
there is fake laws.
Fake
no,
laws, international laws, or fake laws?
Well, hold on. Even domestic laws, though, like bribery is probably a domestic law.
Oh yeah, that's internal to a country.
Well, there's also the fact
Okay.
that impeachment itself does not require a specific law to be broken. It's the term high crimes and misdemeanors really just means offenses that we find rise to the need to take this person out of office. Like,
Certainly.
yeah. So,
Go ahead.
I mean, technically,
and not just that. I just checked out this is part of the Constitution. Article 2, Section 4 says, civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for or conviction of treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. So if I look up the statute for bribery and it says like an inappropriate quid pro quo, like gifts for political consideration and favor, and that's the statute, then how can we not just go through the myriad favors that the Trump administration is doing for various people for money and just say this is bribery?
There is a reason why Clinton didn't get fully impeached. So he had
well, he was impeached, but he wasn't removed from office because he lied about.
I know what the impeachment process is.
it's clumsy to talk about it, even if you know what you're talking about. But yeah, go ahead and continue.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
Well, hold on. So is your defense that it's not illegal, even though, I mean, we could probably find the statute, and based off of the statute, Trump is guilty of it in a half dozen occasions?
Is he guilty on a federal level?
I mean, I think that Congress, if they actually flipped Democrat, and then if Republicans remembered to have a conscience, then yeah, they could probably easily say that this is bribery, and they could impeach him and remove him from office. Absolutely.
So your argument is that they're going to just, if Congress, the House specifically.
Well, okay. So
yeah. You know where I'm going.
No, I think I do know where you're going, which is effectively that a win in the Senate is statistically unlikely. However, I would also say winning a Trump plus 17 district is also statistically unlikely, and that just happened within the past week.
Off election years usually end up going to the other side.
I agree with you that it's unlikely, but I think we're talking about two different mechanics. You're talking about what you think is likely to happen versus I'm saying should. And so
should and
what I'm
could.
saying is, instead of Democrats, and this is actually my entire prescription, I don't think Democrats should spend the summer rioting over random citizens getting shot in the face by ICE officers. I think that'll be counterproductive. I agree
with that. 100%.
Yeah, I don't think they should shoot ICE officers because that's going to be counterproductive and it's illegal. Now, if they take their anger and momentum and they channel it into the midterms, then they probably will win the House. They could win the Senate. And at minimum, they'll make Donald Trump a lame duck, which I think is good because I think Donald Trump's one of the biggest pieces of shit in American politics. But then at maximum, they could impeach him. So that's kind of my position.
Well, you hate Donnie more than I do, which I'm not a big fan, by the way, just so you know.
Well, okay, let's try and find out, like, where are these intuitions really coming from in you? Are you just worried that the attempt to prosecute Trump will alienate more voters than it creates? Is that what you're really worried about here? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that are the punishment of Trump, the charging of Trump for his crimes during office last time regarding January 6th, etc. They puttered around. They didn't get it done quick enough. That it wasn't done well publicly, and I think it did leave like a lot of taste in people's mouth as if he did nothing wrong because these prosecutions didn't go through. Is that maybe where your intuition here is coming from? That this an attempt to impeach again would just become a bogged down political process that just draws a line that's already drawn, something like that.
The line has already been drawn. Everybody knows it.
And so, do you think this is just a spectacle that'll get in the way, or what?
Wait. Just so I can state. I grew up in Minnesota. I mean, I'm not in Minnesota anymore.
Mhm.
I know Minneapolis, Minnesota, same thing. But here's the thing that I get very concerned about is that when and I don't like using these terms, but I'm going to use them because it's easy. The left keeps on saying, "Hey, yeah, let's impeach him. Let's impeach him. Let's kick him out of office. Send him up to the wall." Well, you know what? The left is doing that damn same thing right now.
What same thing?
They're blowing whistles. They're creating distractions and creating bad shots. And Connor can agree with me on this. If you have a lot of bad communication, one person to another, especially when a gun is around, you got to shoot him. You got to shoot the guy down. You don't know what the hell is going on because there's so many whistles. There's so much miscommunication going on that it creates bad decisions. Go ahead, Connor.
Well, General Balsack, I was going to say this is where I've been beefing with the liberals on is I think it's going to be ruled legally justified. But once again, I do still think it's immoral. And what I mean by that is
I agree. You've seen me.
Hold on. Because the shooting is, to me, is not the immoral component. Okay, because if you pose an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm to another person and you get shot down or whatever, I just think that's the law, and I think that's a moral law. However, what I do think is immoral is that the blowing of whistles and the yelling and the protesting and the videotaping, that's all, we looked up case law. That's all protected by the First Amendment of the United States. What's not protected is standing in the middle of the road.
I agree.
But what I was going to say, though, is that plenty of people, when I was a law enforcement officer, and I know law enforcement officers get Monday morning quarterbacked all the time, but plenty of people talk shit to me. Plenty of people talk shit to me. Plenty of people said I was a bad person. Plenty of people said they were going to, do bad shit to me, or
I've seen those.
Well, right.
Those interviews.
So that's the thing, though, is, I said, have a nice day. What I meant, and I communicated it with my tone, is fuck you. But I said, have a nice day. And then I got in my car and I dipped out. Whereas what this officer did, who instigated the incident, was he had two ladies who, let's face it, they're 40 to 60-year-old Karens. They're standing in the roadway, but they're not really in front of the car. He gets pissed off because they're talking shit. And he's like, you don't think I'm a fucking cop? I'll fucking show you wrong. And then he starts pushing them out the roadway and he's pepper spraying them. And I'll even make the argument that serves, quote unquote, a law enforcement purpose. You're dispersing these people out of the roadway. But at the same time, if you asked me, what's the percentage of that guy being mad versus the law enforcement purpose served, I would say 90% of that interaction is him being mad. That's what it is. And cops don't have to be better than that, but they should be better than that.
No, I definitely agree with that.
Okay. All right. Well, then I think I understand your position, and
thank you for the call, partner.
General Balsack, nice to speak to you in person.
Oh, am I you're kicking me out?
Well, not necessarily. If they got questions for you, they can go for it. We just might have other callers.
No worries. I gotta work tomorrow.
We had somebody else in the waiting room, so I did want to give them an opportunity. It looks like they're gone now, but General Balzac, do you want to give us any final thoughts about your position here, or any other parting words?
God, country, and family.
God bless America.
Well said,
Thank
sir.
you. You know what?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being our first caller. We're going to award you, let's say, 200 Grift coin for being a great, good faith first caller. Thank you, neighbor.
Give me some Trump coin.
No, thank you. We are not supporting.
That's what I'm saying. It costs too much
Disavow.
money.
Yeah, that costs real money. Griftcoin, we can just print that shit like it's the American dollar, baby. Okay, we're good.
Oh, well, I've been in mortgage.
We're
It's
doing
okay.
some MMT with this Griftcoin, baby. Okay, this doesn't have to be real. All right, thank you, brother.
Right,
Thank you so
right.
much for calling.
I'll let you go.
I appreciate you. Thank you. All righty.
So we had
my real Republican brother North is saying that he's on his way home, so he'll call in when he has
Beautiful.
a chance. So.
Beautiful.
But if we don't have any callers backstage, then we could definitely hop into the Wick thing. That way we get some.
Yep, that's what I was just thinking. All right, I'm gonna try and share my screen.
And if Lex Talion, I think it was in the waiting room, if you want to jump back in, we'd be happy to have you on. But until you get back here or somebody else jumps in your stead, we're going to check out, it looks like a little bit of this Nor versus Wick, yeah?
Yep. Because of the way we had to fix the stream, I'm not sure where this is in the conversation.
Wick is like a cuck.
I'm gonna try. We start off with
a
Pisco.
little bit higher volume for.
Yes,
on my
absolutely. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where we need to be when Wick starts his argument.
Is a crime, and we see that.
I think we're
back, not or bad here. You weren't supposed to do that. Or you do so.
I think we're right around here.
This is two things. One, it's probably a crime because you've probably incited an insurrection. Secondly, even if it's not, you're inciting people to break the law, which is despicable. And third, you're going to lead to people being harmed or arrested, which is absolutely despicable. And the situations like we saw are going to become more inevitable because of scumbags like you that encourage people to go out there and challenge law enforcement.
Wick, your response?
Okay, so coward's a funny word for someone who decided to go behind my back, not approaching me, but going to Pisco to talk about me without talking to me, without, confronting me yourself. So the coward's a funny word to use there. I'll start with that. Second of all, when we talk about blood on our hands, I think that the people who are defending these ICE agents and preventing them from being held accountable is just going to lead to these ICE agents continuing to kill people in the street and to brutalize women and to brutalize civilians just for exercising their First Amendment and Second Amendment rights. So if anyone has blood on their hands, it is you, sir. And third, I absolutely stand by my statement that we have a moral obligation to obstruct ICE. And what I mean by that,
can you pause?
If you're a Christian.
Yeah.
So oh no, I'm agreeing with Rob Knorr. So
that always hurts.
Hold on. Let's get it out there.
Get him off the show.
Yeah. So okay, moral. All right, moral is just the evaluation of good and bad. Legal is just the evaluation of legality. Can you do it without state punishment or whatever? And so I would never volunteer other people for a morally just action that's going to result in their incarceration. So with Wick saying, oh, we all have a moral duty to go impede and obstruct ICE officers, then at that point, it's like, okay, then you first, because I think it's really easy to volunteer other people for criminal action.
And that's the route that Rob's going to take with this. And then another problem that we're going to run into here is that it seems that Wick will end up using sort of a layman's use of the term obstruction. So by obstruction, he means more non-cooperation. He does advocate for lying to police, which is a serious crime. I think he hadn't thought enough about where he was coming from and how to responsibly say these things.
They'll probably get into it, but I'm curious what he means by obstruct, because we were looking at like 18 USC 111 or whatever, which is the code that
defines obstruction.
It's been used for obstructing ICE and federal law enforcement. And effectively it says like forcibly obstruct, impede, threaten, something. And it's kind of been used as like a catch-all. So if he was saying like, oh, well, we just need to go onto the sidewalk and protest people, like I wouldn't give a shit. But using the word obstruction almost definitely implies some level of criminality.
Yeah, I think it sort of recklessly and unintentionally implies it, whereas in some places he will directly state it. The interesting part about this conversation that I'm excited for us to get to is where I think Rob Noor very intentionally just abuses what Wick has said to accuse him of wanting violence to occur.
Being
and
a domestic terrorist.
yeah, more or less. He's trying to toe that line as hard as he can. So let's tune in here again, and we'll see what develops.
Christian, if you're a patriotic American, you currently have a moral obligation to obstruct ICE. If they come to you and they ask you, where are the Spanish people? Where are the Hmong people? Where are the Somalians hiding? Lie to them. You don't.
He's saying straight up lie. Now, as far left as you want to
have
go, stop the Fed
Somalians hidden under
posting.
your floorboard, yes.
Unironically, my girlfriend and I have had the conversation. We are prepared to fight for people's rights that way if we ever get that far.
Well, hold on. I know this is a really interesting conversation, so I obviously want to let it flow, but I also want to pick your brain on this a little bit. So,
Yeah.
this is kind of where the conservative philosophy comes out a little bit. Like what I, as an American, and I understand that we have like insane material and political privilege. I'm not going to deny that. But I don't have the right to go to Switzerland or to Japan or to Poland or to anywhere and just say, hey, I like your guys' culture better and I like your economics better. So I'm just going to stay here and I'm going to work. I'm not going to commit any crimes, but also I'm not seeking your permission in order to stay here. So I don't have a moral right to stay there. Now, asylum's a little bit different because with asylum, there's a political or physical threat to your well-being if you return to your country of origin. And I think that we could treat that a little bit differently. But if we're looking at like economic migrants, I don't know if this carries the same like moral alarm as the Underground Railroad during chattel slavery. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I tend to be a little further left on this, but I'm definitely not going to advocate for open borders. I think people that believe the left wants open borders and that we're trying to like manufacture voters by letting people in, I think that's all just absurd. But I think we should obviously have our borders protected. We should have that legal process that decides who is and isn't allowed to be here. But I think the difference we are coming to is that the right believes that this is an existential threat that we need to start reinforcing this process, where it just in reality it's never been that vital to any of the arguments they make about the threat to the culture of our nation towards freedom and rights. We're not going to turn into a Sharia nation. We're nowhere close ever. We're not going to turn into
of the immigrants are Catholic Hispanics. Like not even that's what drives me crazy about like the mass immigration. Like, dude, if you were in Europe and like 90% of your immigrants were coming from like Afghanistan, Pakistan, like Eurasia or whatever, then maybe I would understand a little bit of the fears of Islamism. But when it comes to the United States, it's like 95% of our immigration comes from Central and South America, which are Latin, Christian, Catholic nations that are a combination of indigenous Americans and Spanish colonials. So pretending that there's some kind of like existential cultural threat, I think is total bullshit.
Yeah, and they end up Catholics that are probably going to be pretty purple or even red leaning, conservative leaning. And
weirdly enough, they'll probably be economically redistributive and they'll be socially conservative. So like if the Republican Party became a little bit more economically redistributive, but still appealed to social conservatives, then the wave of Hispanic immigrants would likely be Republican. We even saw that with the Trump administration, where in reference to the 24 elections, he broke the Hispanic community broke his way in margins that the Hispanic community had not previously done so. So, I mean, this playbook is ready for the taking. It looks like Kyle's ready for the next play, but it was interesting.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was a good diversion. But we have Lex Talionis back in the waiting room. Shall we interrupt this review and get Lex in here?
Let's get him in here.
All right.
Good evening, Lex. How are you tonight?
What up? What up?
What up?
Coming through loud and clear, Lex.
Tell us a little about yourself. Yeah, welcome. Tell us about yourself. What's your political clan? What are your general ideas and where are you from?
It's pretty easy to guess what I am from. Connor actually knows me. I went out to his range and shot with him I'm John.
Kennedy.
So, yep. So I'm former military, former law enforcement, private security. So obviously I'm a firearms instructor. So obviously I'm conservative. But I've never voted for anybody with an R or a D next to the name. So I'm not either any of those fucking people.
Very unaffiliated. Beautiful.
Now,
Yeah.
do you vote at all, or do you just vote like strictly third party? What's your approach to, if you don't mind my asking, obviously, a private
I believe
thing.
that people like me that have the background, the friends, and the training that I have should abstain from voting in any way possible. Because if I were to be as involved in the electoral process as, say, Destiny or as Connor, well, then that would legitimately be a way for a person to get wildly and quickly indoctrinated into an extremist mindset. You know
Just
what I mean?
just by voting. By voting.
No, I gotta ask. Because that could break two ways really easily. So number one, it could break like minarchist, libertarian, leave me alone.
That's
no
my first sense.
taxes,
That's my
let
first
me
sense,
do
yeah.
my own thing. That's one way. The other way is like, well, you don't want me voting because I want a fascist dictator to, overthrow America because I think liberalism is cringe and gay. So what are we talking about here?
No, I want everybody to leave me the fuck alone.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I would say the more the libertarian route. I got you.
Libertarian, but without the gay fucking let's talk about sex limits or sex age limits.
Yeah, age of consent. Yeah, you don't have
Yeah.
sex.
Okay. I see what you mean.
No.
Shocking for a
I know.
libertarian. But so I'll tell you what makes me libertarian sometimes. So I look at so I don't complain about taxes because as of right now, I'm married. So under 100K only gets taxed at 10% or 12% up to 100K. And I've only made around 100K. So it's actually not that bad. But then I looked at the personal income tax rates for unmarried individuals and I almost shit a brick because after 50K, it jumps up to 22%.
Ooh.
And then once you break 100K, it jumps up to 24%.
Ooh.
And effectively, like, if I was libertarian or if I wanted to fight for the libertarians or whatever,
That would be
I would
what?
effectively, like, I don't know how to phrase it correctly, but I would, like, cut taxes in half, I guess would be the way that you need to say it. But I would double the tax brackets where basically like single individuals don't get taxed more than 10% until they make 100K because 100K doesn't go as far as it used to.
Now
Hear that?
I don't know anything about taxes. I don't have for the past 5 or 6 or 10 or 20
Sounds
years.
like a libertarian.
I have made less than $20,000 per year, and I'm okay with that. I'm not. I don't make a lot of money, and so therefore I never gave a shit. I paid my income tax like everybody else does, going to TurboTax, and then I was fucking happy with it, right? But I'm on the verge of accepting a job where I'm going to be editing a podcast and the social media aspect for a very large podcaster, 1.5 million subscribers, and I'm going to be receiving 10% of the channel and the Patreon. So I might have to actually start paying attention to, like, taxes and shit.
Brother, you're about to jump into a new tax bracket there.
Yeah, you're going
Yes,
to hurdle over a
yeah.
couple of them. It sounds like beautiful. Well,
Exactly.
I hope
but
the
that's
best for
actually
you.
not the reason that I called in. I called in because
You didn't want tax advice? You did not want tax advice?
I did not
okay.
want tax advice just yet because
Standard
I don't
deduction
want
all
a
the
sex
way.
starter shotgun. So the reason I called in is that I was confused as to what Connor found to be immoral about the ICE raids.
I don't find so hold on, let's zoom out a little bit. So I don't find the mission of ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, investigating, locating, detaining, and deporting people who do not have the right to be here. I don't have a problem with that in principle. However, what I would say is that my moral guidance is that I always ask myself whenever you put your cuffs on somebody, that should be something serious. I think as like a libertarian person, you probably agree with that.
But it's more along the lines of me being a former cop that I understand what that means. Yeah.
Well, right, but also like even with the libertarian stuff, though, I don't know how you perceive your own law enforcement stuff, but effectively, like there were cops who were very flippant about taking away people's freedom, where they were like, oh, you jaywalked and you talk shit to me, you're going in handcuffs. Oh, you got like a possession quantity of weed on you, fuck you, you're going to jail. Oh, you know, you're driving without a driver's license, I could give you a court date ticket, but you got a little mouthy, so I'm taking you to, you know, the county jail or whatever. So for me, though, at least the way that I viewed it, is that because of the Fourth Amendment, Americans' freedom is relatively sacrosanct. And so we should only violate said freedom when it's necessary. And so the way that I view, honestly, it's from Full Metal Jacket. He says it with a racial slur. I'll skip the racial slur.
Please
But
do.
he says, inside every Vietnamese person is an American, right? And that's the way that I feel about immigrants who come here and actually work, pay their bills, take care of their families, are nice to their neighbors, and contribute to the community. So when I see people like that 40-year-old dad with a 5-year-old kid who were detained over 4 days, I don't know what higher purpose that is serving.
Whenever you arrested somebody, was the information about why you arrested them and the reason you arrested them, was that immediately available upon your arrest of them?
Oftentimes I would be able to articulate it, and also with a warrant, I would typically have a charge on the warrant.
Right. So would that typically be like relegated out to the general public days or hours after you arrested that person?
Yeah.
Really? What the fuck is Florida doing with their fucking personnel information? Holy shit.
Well, hold on. I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question correctly, but let me see if I do understand it. So Florida has like sunshine transparency laws where anything that goes in the court system is available through the clerk of courts. So basically, if you have a warrant out for your arrest, you can search that. If you have a prisoner record, they can search that. If you're a sex offender, they can search that. If you're going through a divorce proceeding, they can search that. So basically, like, yeah, it would take a few days, maybe a week or two. But if I incarcerated somebody and or served a warrant, let's say I arrested them for a warrant or whatever, that would be updated in the clerk of courts and available to the public within a few days.
Isn't that one of the reasons why Florida has such a bad reputation for being, you know,
that's the
Florida
Florida
guy?
mandate.
Yeah. It's because we've got everything you guys have ever done on file now.
Right. Which I think is amazing, because you can appreciate the full art of what a Florida man is. But Kennedy, why were you asking that question?
Well, I've had a couple of drinks of whiskey and Crown, Crown and Coke. So I'm a little loose. So you have to forgive me for a second to gather my
Forgiven.
thoughts. I heard earlier that you mentioned that the arrests were, or some of the arrests, or the way that the arrests went, were immoral. I have yet to see anything about how they did things that was immoral. But then again, here I am being a bad libertarian, which I never claimed to be. I never.
No.
I don't base things that I see on how moral they are, because moralism, whether it's bad or good moral, is ultimately subjective and ultimately dependent upon how a person views the world around them. So it's difficult
I use moral very broadly, where I think that people are like, that's not moral, that's ethical, or that's not ethical, that's moral. And the way that I understand it is, moral is just the analysis of good or bad, and then it has a connotation of personal conduct. And then same thing with ethics. Ethics is the evaluation of good or bad, but it has like a collective connotation. So it's typically prescriptions about society. So when it comes to moral, I can tell you with Preddy, and I can tell you with the Renee Good shooting, what I find immoral about it. Okay.
Go ahead.
So if you'll indulge me. So for Renee Good, the officer who shot Renee Good in the face, he allegedly had been dragged by a vehicle previously and gotten 12 stitches. And it's part of DHS policy to not walk in front of a running vehicle unless absolutely necessary. That's like a part of the written policy. Mm-hmm. And so by walking in front of the vehicle the first time, videotaping her face, videotaping her license plate, walking around the vehicle, seeing that his boys want to try to detain, so he walks in front of the vehicle again and then sees that she's coming for him and then uses that as a pretext to shoot her in the face. For me, what's immoral about that, not talking about legal, that in my opinion, I've been arguing with my chat for 2 weeks. My entire fucking chat hates me because I've been saying that it's a legal shoot. Okay.
That's because your chat has been raised on the idea that donut operators are fascist, which you've helped to promote.
But what I would say is immoral about it is he'd already been dragged by a car. He violated policy. He already had her face. He already had her license plate. If she flees, he has the capacity to write a warrant and pass it off to local PD for enforcement so she could get picked up at a later date and be punished for it. And by stepping in front of the vehicle, he's engaging in what some people are, it's not a legal concept that's cemented yet, but it's officer caused jeopardy. And it's where you force the scenario to escalate so you can use that as an excuse to use force. I find that to be immoral.
Was the guy that shot Good, was he pointing his firearm or being in any sort of way aggressive towards Renee Good before she decided to put her vehicle in drive?
No, not any more than any officer detaining any other person in the history of arrests.
Correct. Okay, so he wasn't doing anything any different than he was whenever he was standing in front of her vehicle before. So yet she decided to take off in front while he was standing in front of her vehicle. Now, you can say that he stood in front of her vehicle as, I don't know, as a way of provocation or something, but he was making a loop around her vehicle. Should he have stopped from just before entering the front of her vehicle in order to stay legal or within departmental policy? Or was he just simply continuing the loop around her vehicle and she decided to drive? Because whenever you have a vehicle with round tires, in order for you to turn right or left, you have to put it in drive, and your vehicle will go forward at the same time it's moving to the right or the left. So
okay, I'm not as soy as my audience, so I'm not going, nor as soy as my hosts here. So I'm not going to pretend that Renee Good doesn't have any moral culpability. She does. She's the one who backed up the vehicle. She's the one who put it into drive. She definitely helped force the situation, and therefore she shares some degree of moral culpability. I'm not blaming the officer solely, which is part of the reason why I wouldn't want to see him incarcerated for it. Maybe I would want him to be open to a civil suit, but not him personally. I would want the department to be open to a civil suit. But what I would argue, what is moral? Because if you know what level of crime do we have? We have obstruction of a ICE operation, which is a misdemeanor. It's under a year in jail. Okay, so we have a misdemeanor. Then we have fleeing and eluding, which I'm sure is a felony, but it's a local felony. And then we have maybe if he was actually struck, you would have like battery on a law enforcement officer, and maybe you could even argue aggravated battery. Although weirdly enough, feds combine assault and battery into a single statute. So you have assault.
You can throw out the impact of the vehicle because there's not a close enough fucking observational point to determine if that actually happened or not.
Right. So, but either way, we got like 2 misdemeanors, 1 felony, right? And the felony is a local. So for me, if I'm putting handcuffs on somebody and I already think that's serious, then taking someone's life is like maximal serious, right? It should be avoided as much as humanly possible. And so, if we're taking this concept of officer caused jeopardy, where we're saying that cops can be negligent or can be malicious by forcing a use of force scenario, this is not the law of the land now, but I do think that carries, even if I was totally wrong and the United States never passes an officer caused jeopardy statute, I still think it's immoral because you're forcing a situation that results in the end of a human life that is not necessary.
How is anybody forcing anything other than Renee Good putting her vehicle in drive and going forward?
By him stepping in front of the vehicle when he has department policy not to say to, and then also he's already been in an incident where he's been dragged, so he should know better.
There was something I wanted to throw in here. Do you both remember the part of the video? Maybe I'm not recalling it correctly, but I believe that 2 officers were giving 2 different commands. One was saying to get out of here, and the other was saying to get out of the car. Is that ringing a bell?
It seems to be that over the course of the incident that earlier on they're trying to get them to move away from the area because they're blocking traffic, getting in the way. And then as it becomes more of an obstruction, it seems that some of the officers officers start moving towards
they
apprehending
weren't-
them.
I would still say that Renee Good, when she's reversing and putting it into drive, like you can actually see in the cell phone footage from the guy who's walking in front of the vehicle, you can see her looking at the cop and doing the calculation of whether or not she thinks she can pull to the right of him.
Mhm.
And so for me, I don't think her intent was to run over the cop because she wouldn't have cut her wheels all the way to the right. I think her intent was to flee and elude. And the fact that she was willing to flee that close to a cop is dangerous enough. So that's where, once again, I'm not as sorry as my audience. So I do think Renee Good has some culpability, but I do think that the officer forced the situation by walking in front of the vehicle twice.
Well, and then you've got the
If you
argument
were-
of is shooting the person going to remove the threat? There's
Shooting
part
the
of
person
me.
is not going to remove the threat, but drawing your pistol on somebody, pointing it at somebody with your finger on the trigger is a sign of threat you're giving to the driver. It should force them to stop what they're doing and allow you to take them into detention, because she was detained at that point in time whenever they told her get the fuck out of your
Sure.
vehicle. So that she should have stopped. The fact that she didn't stop leads me to believe, as a cop, that she was going to leave by hook or by crook, regardless of who was standing in front of her. She was going to drive her vehicle. Like I said,
You
a
think she
vehicle
was
with
ready to
round
take
tires,
a
you
charge for
cannot
assaulting a
turn
police officer to get
hard
out of there?
90-degree. I'm sorry, say again.
You think that she was ready to take an assaulting a police officer charge to get out of there?
Absolutely. She wanted to leave so bad that she was willing to potentially impact somebody with her vehicle. She showed a distinct lack of care, a reckless driver type situation,
Even
combined with
though-
already being detained, and she was willing to injure somebody in order to flee.
Even
a
though
period
just
of
before
being
they were
detained.
saying, we'll be here again, we don't change our license plates like you, and that her last words are, "I'm not mad at you."
It
And-
doesn't matter what she said. I can tell you
Doesn't
right
matter.
now that I think that you're a fuzzy bunny, and I think you've got a lovely butt. That does not make me a homosexual, sir.
Yeah, but
So,
on
I'll
balance,
real quick, because I've done these combos and debates for the past 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
to be honest, like I don't want to get wrapped around the axle because we actually could be here all night.
Yep.
But I did want to say I would put a pin in that for Kennedy and just say I think it's immoral. You disagree. That's okay. Let me explain what I think is immoral about the second shooting too. So with the second shooting, what I would say is the cop legally, the initiating cop, okay? The initiating cop who shoved the woman out of the roadway, gave them lawful orders to disperse, pepper sprayed them, et cetera, et cetera. I disagree with all the liberals, okay? I think that they could have charged and detained that person under 18 USC 111. And then not just that, under that authority, they have the right to tell them to disperse. They don't have to detain them. They don't have to incarcerate them. They can tell them to fuck off out of the roadway, and they can push them or pepper spray them in order to get them to fuck off. Okay. So we're
Yes.
there. However, okay, let's just start right there in isolation, separate from the shooting. Okay. I think that plenty of members of the public are rude, shitty, verbally abrasive, annoying to cops, don't like cops, tell you to kill yourself, say that they're going to kill your family, this, that, the other, all that happy horse shit, right? And effectively, the way that I was trained and the way that my department conducted itself is we would say, you know what, you have a nice day. But the way that we're phrasing that is you can go fuck yourself. But what we do is we go do our jobs, right? Whereas I cannot think of, like, they could have gotten into the SUV, dipped out, continued on their law enforcement operations, and taken their anger out on a truly worthy target, an actual rapist or murderer or something like that. But instead what happened was
or
this
in a
cop
healthy
got
way.
pissed because two 40 to 60-year-old women were talking shit to him in the middle of the roadway. So he got pissed and he said, you know what, fuck you too. And then he started pushing them and pepper spraying them. And I think that while we cannot expect cops to be perfect, I do expect a higher degree of behavior out of them than that at most times.
Right. Do you think that the average person should have a fundamental understanding of their rights and how their actions impact their status as a free person versus an incarcerated person?
Absolutely.
Of course.
I would put it into high school civics class.
Right. So whenever you step up to a cop as he's fucking somebody up, whether it's morally or immorally. Which, by the way, if you're going to try to do the immoral thing, he was doing something immoral. What does an immoral
It's legal.
action look like compared to a moral action? That's fucking, unless somebody knows the law and the law, what this law says, stepping in front of a cop as they're doing something is a real quick way of finding out exactly what is going to happen whenever somebody decides to arrest.
No, I've said this to my chat multiple times, and I said if my kids were saying, "Hey, I'm going to go protest ICE, I'm going to be concealed carrying a pistol," I'm going to be like, number one, I mean that's your right, but that's stupid as fuck, and you're going to get yourself killed. Not just that, I do think that there's a difference between being an observer. So, for instance, let's say that Mr. Preddy had just videotaped the entire time. I would view that as a substantially less risky series of behavior than kicking the ICE vehicle 10 days prior to being killed. That's absurdly dangerous to be kicking a cop car while you have a gun on your person. Excellent.
Cop car or not. Anybody kicking anybody's vehicle is an invitation for violence to be put upon you, right?
Sure. But so I would see that as incredibly reckless. And then the same thing too, I think that Preddy likely thought that he was acting in a moral way where he's protecting this woman from an abusive cop. But I would say, walking around with a gun, looking for cops to be abusive, and then putting yourself in between a cop and the person they're trying to detain or disperse is a very quick way to get shot. And here, a little edgy comment before I shut up, which is the graveyard is filled with morally righteous people who are doing the right thing. So you kind of have to ask yourself, like, what is your principles and morals worth to you in each situation? And is it worth your life? And Preddy found out that, it would cost him his life to live his morals.
Exactly.
That's actually, last thing, I know I'm yapping, but that's what we're watching with Wick right now, where Wick is debating another person and he's saying, I think it's every American's duty to obstruct ICE officers. I think he's volunteering other people to behave in a way that he thinks is morally correct, but puts them in danger. And that's also Rob's objection to it.
You know what? If what would happen if Wick had come to our range and gone the training that we offered to him, he would know that not to do that. I said that all fucked up because I'm a little bit more intoxicated than I am. Fuck, shit. God damn.
That's all right.
You got the point across.
That's great. We've got a few more folks in the waiting room. So, Lex, do you want to give us any final thoughts or closing statements about your position here?
No, you're all fake and gay.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, Kennedy. Love
Nailed
you.
it.
I am not real, and I love men.
So, what do you think? Should we give Lex a little bit of fake money for coming on?
Absolutely.
And being a good sport?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you,
Lex.
Lex.
How much do we?
Since he's not the first caller, let's bring it down to 150. It's all arbitrary. The points don't matter.
They don't, unless you're.
They're very important.
Buy fake stocks or.
This is all very important.
Join the call-in list and get ahead in the line, which we'll investigate that in just a moment. See if anybody did indeed spend a little bit of grift coin to jump to the front. Let's see. Can we find Lex? Let's give him.
Which, to be clear, you should not. We are giving you grift coin today because we need you more than you need us.
Well,
okay. Let's move on in the debate. You think?
Well, as it happens, we've got.
If we have call-ins and they're waiting, we could just knock out call-ins.
Let's do it.
Honestly, here's the other thing. So, we kind of said, oh, we'll do 2 or 3 hours or whatever. So we started at 9. It's 10:40. I'll stay till midnight. So that'll be 3 hours. But what I would say is if the call-ins distract away from the debate review content or whatever, then, we could run it again. No problem.
Okay.
Well, our cup runneth over with CounterPoints. And speaking of cup runneth over, North donated their entire holdings of 500 grift coin in order to jump to the front of the line. So we're going to bring in North.
Get him in here.
Nice.
A grift coin oiler. North. Norte. Hola.
What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Norte? Welcome in. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Fuck. I turned off my camera. Here we are.
Oh,
hey, welcome. Go. How's it going, North? How you doing?
Our fake money that we gave to you back to us.
He's pissed off. He's pissed off.
I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off at the way that America is responding to this administration.
And you should be.
I'm pissed off at the way these content creators online, like Pisco and Hutch and Rob Knorr and Wick, all of them, are reacting to the situation.
All right.
I've come to a bit of a epiphany, and I kind of want to rant about it a little bit. If you guys would,
Please
Do it.
indulge us.
okay. When let's take the Wick versus Rob Knorr clip that was shown earlier.
Mhm.
Wick is advocating for people to go out on the streets and obstruct ICE officers.
And lie to police.
And Rob Knorr is basically saying, stay home and do nothing. But I've been in Wick's Discord server and I've interacted with his community. He's not energizing his community to go out and protest this administration. He's not telling his community to contact their local representatives or to do door-knocking campaigns for the right politicians who are going to get these people unelected, or to just go out and protest in general. Like, what are we doing? We're going on these debate panels, and we can debate whether something was like right or if it's wrong, and sure, it's good content. But at the end of the day, I can think of only one person really that's like energizing their audience to go out and try to affect political change. And I hate to say it, but it's Destiny with his DGG Politics Discord server, and the Unfuck America tour. Like, everyone else is sitting in their homes, engaging in the political drama content, and then they're doing nothing with it. And it's the endless gathering of new viewers.
Late, bro.
I'm way too late. I'm way too late. Yeah, I should have been born a couple years later.
I gotta
or
say
earlier
this, because this is what happens to every young blood that comes into online poll, right? Because they see the money, they see the hundreds of thousands of dollars flowing through the space, they see the hundreds of thousands of participants, and they're like, "What? How can we not turn this into something productive?" But the truth is that the things that are actually turned into something productive is like 1 or 2% of the energy of the space. And what I mean by that is Hassan Piker has done some charity things, and he's probably raised, a few $1,000,000 for charity. But compared to what he's made, it's probably piss in the ocean.
No, it's nothing. And I don't think he even contributes his own money into his charity funding. That's like his entire
audience
community.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you that Destiny, and I would say Progressive Victory, were the only people who actually tried to take the energy of the space and translate it into an electoral result. Now, my frustration with that is I think that we as a culture are more broken than that. And electoralism in general, it itself, we're taking a system that's ineffective and we're chipping off 1 or 2% of it, and then we're pouring it into electoralism. But electoralism itself is an ineffective system, and then only 1 or 2% of that actually has an impact. And so what I would do, I'm just not a big enough of a creator yet, and you gave me some hurtful but truthful feedback on how to improve the quality of my content. But
hey, I gotta be honest.
I know, but let's say that I did have the revenue of Destiny or something like that. I would want to do, I've been talking about this for years, and we've kind of already done it a couple of times. I would want to do disaster relief, right? Like I would want to do,
well, yeah.
Take Twitch and YouTube politics people, the way that they volunteered in the canvassing events for Milwaukee and Cincinnati and all that kind of stuff. Western North Carolina gets jacked up by a hurricane, and we just say, hey, anybody from Twitch and YouTube politics, we have a budget for 30 available rooms at the Hyatt at this location. If you can figure out transport, here's a Discord call room for carpooling. And if you can be here from February 19th to February 25th, we'll cover lunch and dinner for these 5 days. And then boom, we just go out into the community and we help people with food, water, getting debris off their houses, all that kind of crap. And hopefully nobody dies while we're doing that. But I think that would be, in my opinion, while the electoral shit would probably have more of an impact on national politics or state politics or whatever, I think that would do more for like the souls of the people in Twitch and YouTube politics who are effectively black-pilled like a motherfucker right now because they don't think they can have any kind of impact whatsoever. But this is something where
they don't have any impact because none of them try. None of them try at all. Like, look.
Well, you need to try, North, but before thou cast stones in glass houses, thou must try as well.
Well, here's the thing, though. I am trying. I'm.
What do you got for us?
Going to. Well, sorry. I'm going to be buying the domain realrepublicans.org, and I'm going to be using that as a fundraising and organizing tool. I've designed a poster that I'm going to be distributing around my city in order to get a Never Trump Republican group in Lexington, Kentucky organized, and hopefully that we can have some impact on local politics. I'm emailing my local politicians, and I'm trying to correlate a community of Never Trumpers who are going to go out and we're going to pressure our politicians in order to get the people that we need elected and the people who need to lose because they need to learn a lesson. They need to learn that they can't just do whatever the fuck they want and then expect there to be no political consequences whatsoever. They can't just be sitting on their seats doing nothing.
Hoorah.
Dude, I was like 6 hours away from being like, fuck it, I'm a right-wing liberal. And then North shows up, he's like, no, you can't do it. Those guys are soy, and they're lame, and they're gay.
Well, yeah,
and
they are soy, and they are lame.
Stay what you are. You must stay true to yourself. And now I'm not saying I'm trapped. I actually love it. I actually North's enthusiasm is infectious, but
reinvigorated you. All right, so
it's a tough fight. It's a tough fight.
All right, North, where you threw these allegations out. Where does CounterPoints here stand on that grifter scale? Is he doing something? Is he doing not enough?
Before in his chat, and I've DM'd him a little bit about this. His opinion, as I understand it, is he does not have like the current finances to be able to fund some sort of like major political change. But this is something that would throw back at him. For that is you don't need to finance all of this yourself. Like the point of like having a community is you have people come together and they can donate, and there's a reason why they call it volunteering. They go out on their own time, and it doesn't require a massive amount of money or any money at all to create a
just get the word out
or organize your community and go tell them to go email their local politician or like not even your local politician. You can create a list of politicians that are like the election might swing one way or another, and you can pressure them to push for certain policies to be done, or just spreading the word in general of like the thing that we're trying to build here, which is a Never Trump anti populist Republican movement. Like all of these things don't require a massive amount of money to be organizing. And like the thing that I'm talking about, making business cards or making a poster with a QR code saying, are you a Republican and do you hate what's going on right now, but you don't want to be a soy liberal? Go contact me at this number, or email me here or go to this website and we'll have a meeting at the Starbucks that's right down my road, and we'll meet there on Thursdays. All of this doesn't require thousands and thousands of dollars, and you don't need to be renting hotels and organizing carpools to go to Minneapolis to go protest. This is something you could do locally. And yeah, that's sort of my my straw man of Connor's point and my rebuttal to the straw man.
He's a young man, and he doesn't have babies to take care of himself yet. That's my excuse.
Yeah, well, but that is true.
Yet being a key word. Well, no, in my defense, not that North has attacked me, but when the war kicked off in Ukraine, we did do a fundraiser, and because of some generous people in our community, we raised like somebody else donated like $1,500 by themselves, but they were notified by our community to donate to this organization or whatever, and then we raised $2,500 that we donated. So one year we did do $4,000 to Ukraine. Then the following year, we did have Hurricane Ian, which hit Central Florida. So that was easy for me to do. And it was Daddy J-Mac from the Cincinnati community. He backed us with like, I think another $1,500 or like $2,000. And so we got massive fans, we got dehydrators, we got food, we got a chainsaw, we got axes, we got all that stuff. And we went and like replaced fencing, chopped down trees, dried out houses, all that kind of stuff. So whatever year Hurricane Ian was, we did that year. And then this year, and then the year after that was 24. So that was the election. So I just worked for PV that year. I didn't really do anything except for a little volunteer thing with my father-in-law. And then this past year, we had a community member, King Solidus, I hope he doesn't mind me shouting at his name, But he needed $2,000 in order to meet his medical deductible in order to rehabilitate his shoulder because he's a working man. So my very generous community fundraised $2,000 in 2025 for Mr. King Solidus. So we're not rich, or at least I'm
That's
not
beautiful.
rich.
Great job, guys. Great job.
But my community is very generous, but I also feel bad to a degree because not only do they help me live my dream of being a content creator, but they also step up to the plate when I ask them to do community things. And I think that while they have been incredibly generous, I don't want to stretch my Oilers to the breaking point that they feel like I'm just treating them like pay pigs. So I want to grow the community and have it large enough that basically the financial burden is distributed. So if people feel like being generous, they can be generous, but then they don't feel like they have to be generous just so I can fulfill my niche fantasy of political content creation. So I'm very grateful, but also Connor starting OnlyFans. Yeah. So, okay. But North was correct about some things, which he hurt my feelings with, which is basically like, hey, Connor, you have a very boomer stream. Whenever you do a one-on-one, you have 2 cameras of yourself on. You're using StreamYard. Nobody can see your chat. Your aspect ratio or your ratios between your camera and the content is totally fucking off. And so he gave me a bunch of technical feedback that he's like, you're a fucking boomer. So, you need to unfuck that shit.
And none of our links work to your Discord server. That's another thing.
Yeah. And then my Discord links haven't worked in like a year. So yeah, there's like a lot of simple shit that I could and should do.
We here at the Marketplace of Ideas have none of these problems because we have no technology. we are below criticism at this point.
Yeah,
this is a return to ape anarchism.
North, I want to thank you so much for coming on and bringing your enthusiasm. We've got another caller in the waiting room, so I want to give them a chance to speak their mind.
You know what? I have one more thing that I'd like to finish this conversation with. So, what do you say to people that see the spreading of these messages on social media as a meaningful form of activism? Is that simply just insufficient?
You're jerking each other off. That's what it is. It's a circle jerk. That's what it is. It's social media. It's like you feel good because you make your tweet and you get your 5 likes on Twitter or your 5 likes on Instagram. But in the end, it doesn't really affect anything. A politician is not going to change their policy because you posted something on social media.
Not direct one-to-one. Well, we've got this conversation on Somalian fraud now.
I was about to say, I don't even know if that's true.
Yeah.
Because the Minnesota raids started off of that Shirley guy doing the documentaries about Somali daycares.
Well, guess what?
I wish you were right.
Shirley went out to Minnesota and he went to these places and then he physically filmed it, he edited it, and then he uploaded it online. And that wasn't like an actual thing that he did in person to effect. He didn't just be like, ICE is bad. I hate Trump. We are ruled by pedophiles. Like, that is like something that you can do to affect the real world. So you can't just tweet something and expect it to change the world. You actually have to put in some sort of time and effort, no matter how good it makes you feel.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you, North.
North, before we let you
my chat is
go,
convincing me to start a fully clothed workout OnlyFans, chopping wood.
You might as well. I mean, at least pulling a triple digits, at least I would say. North, could you plug that website that you said you bought the rights to? I just want to make sure we get a good clear hear of that again.
There's nothing on the website right now. It will be up. Give me like 24 hours, and then it should be up. It's realrepublicans.org. But if you want to see me on YouTube, I stream every once in a while at youtube.com/@NorthisLife. So
excellent. We'll look for some content on that website by tomorrow.
And also, Kyle, he paid 500 grift coin to get on here, and we are rewarding people
500, all of it. I was giving all 500, of it. And I was willing to give it all.
He's putting it all on the line, and I think he earned at least all of that back. And for putting it all on the line, he's easily a great caller. I think we give him all of his 500 back and just double his money.
Double his money.
I think Connor agrees.
That way he can bet and speculate. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what a good thing for every young person to learn how to properly gamble on fake stocks.
Yeah.
North will give you 1,000 grift coin to spend, hopefully wisely, but only here at the marketplace. of
He's
Ideas.
he's
Thank
gonna
you
come
so
back
much.
next week
I'll
and
use
just
it for
spend all
my,
1,000 to get
crippling
in.
online gambling addiction. Thank
Sure.
you.
Perfect. Yes, hopefully we'll just funnel your addiction towards our fake stocks over here. Thank you so much, North.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good night.
Cheers.
Yep. So I do see that we've got Brinkman hanging out in the waiting room. Shall we bring Brinkman in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought.
Keep it
I
rolling.
also think I saw JK Politics, who's another community member too.
Yeah, they jumped in here to the show, and then I moved them to the waiting room, but then they jumped out of the waiting room. So hopefully they'll come back. But for now, let's bring Brinkman in. Brinkman,
Good
you
evening,
are
Brinkman.
on the show. How are you doing?
Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm doing pretty good. I'm just here with my in-laws right now. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we had your camera there for a second.
Oh,
there we go. Okay, how you doing, Brinkman?
Oh, can you see me?
Yes,
Sure can.
We can actually see your reflection as well.
Yeah,
so
I think we've got
I think
Santa Claus.
I think I can see your hands or your feet. I might be able to see your feet.
Yeah, probably. So, my name's Brinkman. I'm one of the head mods over at r/Gooner, and I heard you guys were one of the first Gooner politics crossovers.
As it happens, we've made a deal. It's tentative right now, but with Connor's community, we intend to host the first gubernatorial elections at some point in the near future to determine the first Gooner, I guess it would be.
Goonernator?
Goonopolis.
Yes, Goonopolis. Goonstantinople was another name floated. Goondor. I suppose whoever ends up in charge is going to determine the name.
They're fighting over Mount Goon as well. I was actually thinking, I actually disavow digital gooning. I'm a huge critic of Stevens gooning and all that kind of stuff. But it seems like 60% easily of my audience are liberal gooners and 20% of them are gooner libertarians. So I kind of just have to accept the fact that I'm outnumbered by gooners.
I'm gooning right now to these feet up here.
I would create a separate like Discord channel, but then I'm afraid that the gooners would start gooning in the separate Discord channel. So I'm almost wondering
don't want to
if
encourage
whoever
them.
becomes the Gooninatorial or the Gooniver of Goonopolis, I wonder if they need to start a new Discord for all the Cogger Gooners.
Get them out of here, absolutely.
Is this just a way for you to pass this off to somebody else so you can wash your hands of this whole Gooner?
I would recommend washing your hands.
I don't want to be covered in whatever bodily fluids are coming out of this entire scenario.
Metaphorical or otherwise.
But I'm sorry, Brinkman, we're ignoring you. Why were you asking?
Well, I'm just here because me and the Gooner community, we are really dismayed about the recent shootings in Minneapolis or Minnesota rather, and
yeah.
Well, we all sort of got together and had a discussion, and we decided we want to do something like good for the community with our gooning, sort of in the vein of the speedrunning community. They raise money for Doctors Without Borders.
Sure.
So
yeah,
this was before the Preddy shooting, so we decided to call ourselves Gooners for Good, and we have been planning.
Oh, I think it needs to be like, dude, I'm doing a breakdown of The Expanse right now, which is a sci-fi series, and they have an organization called Aid Without Allegiance, which is based off of Doctors Without Borders. So I think you need to create Gooners for Good, and the mayor, whoever is determined to be the mayor of Goonopolis, he should create a Discord, and then the Gooners for Good should be the Doctors Without Borders of Goonopolis.
Wow.
Now, Brinkman, I do want to just clarify, though. You said you came up with Gooning for Good before Renee Good was shot. Yeah,
before the Preddy shooting. It was after Good was shot.
Oh no.
Brinkman, we're
why are you
getting
covering?
Well, you know what?
I thought you'd be into this, James.
I think you're
What's your
breaking up.
problem?
I think you're breaking up. Temporarily muted him. Dear Lord. I don't know.
For a long time now. It's going to be a 24-hour Goon stream to raise money.
I do not approve. Oh God.
Okay, and sorry if just because I don't approve, I disavow.
Yeah,
However,
this is,
if
I think his bid is a
people
bit
wanted
much.
to find you and or find your goon mission,
Just
your
go to the
gooning for
deepest,
good,
darkest place
how do they
yourself,
find
and he'll
you?
be there.
Well, hang on now, Connor. This is still our show after all. I don't know that I can sanction this goonery myself. I mean, listen,
Oh.
I'm not necessarily above a little gooning now and then, but
I
you
think
know,
this
the
is
marketplace of
horrible.
ideas is more about politics and culture. Gooning might be considered that just de facto, but Brinkman, I don't know that this is the appropriate place to advertise your event. Maybe something like a pornography streaming site. I'm not really sure how all this works. What made you come here to talk about your mission?
The good.
It's just because I heard a lot from the Gooner community about what you guys are planning on doing here. I heard you guys were starting a new show, and we just wanted to
How
get
did
the
the
word out.
Gooner community hear about?
Yeah, we barely advertised. I mean, I think the only people that heard about us
It's
are
from my
Connor's.
community, guys.
Oh.
You don't understand. Okay, let me go for the deep lore. Okay, I'll try to make it as brief as possible. So what's happened is the liberals in my community, I started criticizing Hunter Biden, and they were like, "Oh, you're just jealous because he's a gooner Chad who does drugs and hangs out with ladies of the night."
That's
and
right.
then we talked about Bonnie Blue, and I said Bonnie Blue is so insane for sleeping with 1,000 men within 24 hours. She
That's not that
deserves to
insane.
be institutionalized. And I effectively had a rebellion within my chat by half a dozen to a dozen people who were arguing that it was morally virtuous to support Hunter Biden and Bonnie Blue. And so what's happened over the past like 3 to 6 months is I've just accepted the fact that these people exist. They're in my community.
There's
They're
a great
otherwise
Gooner
decent
divide.
people, but they are unrepentant about the fact that they are lascivious people. And I just have to accept that about them.
Brinkman, do you feel like that's a fair assessment of you and your community?
I mean, I guess so. We support Hunter Biden and we support Bonnie Blue. So
Yeah, that stands. Yeah. All right. Well, Brinkman, I'm going to let you go here.
all right. I just wanted to say, I personally will be donating $5 for every guy who busts on camera. So if you guys want to come on,
Yeah,
turn your
no,
cameras.
I don't know that we will. I don't know that we will. But man, Brinkman, hats off to you for
Keep the hat
fighting a
on.
good fight.
Keep the hat
And,
on.
yeah, definitely keep the hat on. Don't ever show your face to anybody if you're going to be espousing opinions like this. But thank you so much for coming. Oh God, on the marketplace of ideas. I think we better let go of Brinkman. Sorry, Brinkman, we got to let you go here. Buddy.
We're gonna wipe
so much
clean
for
of this interview. All right. God bless
boy.
America.
Well, that fell off the rails there. Sorry about that, Connor. Was not expecting.
You don't need to apologize. Are you kidding me? That's like the most tame thing that's been done in like my chat in a minute.
Well, this is not the kind of atmosphere we're hoping to cultivate.
I do not condone. This is a family show. We play after Disney or Mr. Rogers or some shit. This comes right on afterwards.
I'm not gonna lie. You having a Freudian slip with "thanks for coming" on the marketplace of ideas was like perfect.
Perfect.
It was the perfect side.
Well, I'm glad that we got some silver linings out of that because my goodness, what a salacious caller that one was.
Yeah, let's.
Well, hopefully that's not the last one to sign off for the
We're gonna
night,
need a
but
palate cleanser, a deep palate
we
cleanser.
are going to need a little bit of aftercare from that.
Well, why don't we do the Wick thing?
Let's go back to
Sure,
Wick.
let's get back into that Wick debate. Do you still have us at the same spot there,
If
James?
there's anything that makes me think of gooning less, then it would be this.
It's Wick
Yeah,
versus Rob Noor.
yeah, this is-
Wick
this is
and
the,
Rob Noor in the same room.
The cold shower of online debates.
All right, God bless America. Here we go. Right where we left off 40 minutes of madness ago.
Oh, no, you haven't seen shit. Okay?
You haven't seen shit.
Hit record. Take out your phone
I'm
and
sorry.
hit record. Thank
My
you, God.
chat's really enjoying the fact that that this debate is the antithesis of gooning. All right, hold on. We have to talk to Lethal Lance because Lethal Lance is he's a hater. He's a haterade.
Lethal Lance, you are
Save
on
us.
the marketplace of ideas.
Save us, Lethal.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Welcome.
I'm a huge
Wonderful. Wow. Well, your audio's coming out pretty well.
Of us,
yeah,
or just
tell
a
us what-
habitual hater of things? How you doing? What do you got for us?
Oh no, I'm doing all right. My son's eating applesauce right now, so a big chillin'.
Delicious.
Excellent. What is it that you're hating on right now? What have you got for us?
I actually don't want to hate. I just want to clarify Connor's position on his prescriptions about ice, because I know he prescribed some reforms. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I freaking just got done with this. Ran upstairs to do this.
Yes, sir.
All right, God damn. All right, prescriptions, reforms. My only question would be, what good are the reforms? Because he wanted extra training and all that. But when these agents already go against the training they already had, he doesn't really want to hold the. There's like no accountability mechanisms to even enforce the training. So what's more training going to help?
Well, I think we need to be specific. So with the only training that I really saw get violated in reference to these two shootings is one, don't be an asshole. But let's face it, plenty of cops are assholes all the time. So that's kind of like not really that big of a violation. And that's in reference to the, excuse me, in reference to the Preddy shooting, the initiating officer getting pissed off and getting sand in his vagina and then fighting the two women in the street. That's obviously just him losing his cool. So saying don't lose your cool in a high stress job, that's not really anything. When it comes to the Renee Good shooting, I think that he should be, like, officer cause jeopardy should open the it should open the institution up to civil liability. And what happens with civil liability, so let's say this exact same thing happens again. There's somebody who walks in front of a car twice. They have a policy that says you're not supposed to be walking in front of cars unless it's absolutely necessary or there's exigent circumstances like a violent felony that you need to intervene on. And then it results in a death or severe injury. Well, if they can show that this was caused by officer cause jeopardy, that opens them up to civil suit and then obviously policy sanction. Those kinds of officers are not going to last because they're going to be too expensive. They will be drummed out of the profession. And then not only will they be drummed out of the profession, I think that a policy violation involving officer cause jeopardy that results in a death, in the state of Florida, there's something called the CJSTC. It's a Criminal Justice Standards and Training Commission, and they can revoke your licensing to be a law enforcement officer. And I think that a officer cause jeopardy resulting in a wrongful death should be the kind of thing that gets your law enforcement licensing revoked.
Okay, so with current wrongful death lawsuits with on the civil side, civil liability, it seems that most of that goes to the department. And when you settle those, it's really just at the end of the day, you kill a taxpayer, and then to repay that family, you take taxpayer money and give it to the taxpayer you killed. And it seems to me, from looking on the outside, that it's not the greatest accountability mechanism in the world. And I'd want to know your opinion on maybe loosening up qualified immunity. So if you go against training and you do cause a wrongful death, you are more liable to be civilly sued yourself as an officer, and not just having the lawsuit be against the department.
Well, there's a thing here that I'm just not going to agree on, and it's because I think that there are good, like, excellent people who are incentivized to be in law enforcement, but it's not a particularly like glorious job. Okay, so all of the glory in TV shows, all the cool moments, all the cool stuff that you do or whatever, it's a honeymoon phase and then it wears off.
It's maybe
So
1% or less of your job.
Yeah, so I have like 2 out of my 4 years of service, I probably had like a 2-year honeymoon phase, and then it wore off. And then at the end of the day, I was basically like a janitor for corpses. You know what I'm saying? I was a guy who wrote book reports about fucked up shit that happened in the city. And so when you kind of lose that romantic, those romantic notions about the job, it just becomes a cost benefit analysis about whether or not it's worth it. And so some people say, yeah, it's worth it. I still love the job, this, that, the other. But once you start adding in those incentives of, well, if you not like, let's say you fuck up, okay, because cops do fuck up. So let's say that you fuck up and you cause a wrongful death through. Let's just use the Renee Good shooting. Let's say your adrenaline's out of your mind. You're going into a hectic scenario. You run around the car. You accidentally put yourself in danger, but you're negligent, and then you accidentally kill someone. Well, not only have you just killed someone and you're living with that guilt for the rest of your life, not only are you barred from the profession that you were counting on in order to retire, not only is your name dragged through the mud and you're probably getting death threats for the rest of your life, or at least for a few years, while people still think you're the biggest piece of shit in the planet for killing this person. But then on top of that, you lose all the respect of your friends and peers, and you are no longer employable because you cost the city several $100,000. Adding incarceration on top of that, like, you're effectively making it so good people aren't going to show up for the job because they're not going to think that it's worth it at all. And I think you have to, when we already have a recruitment shortfall, you need to balance that. You need to balance recruiting versus like lives saved.
In my opinion, the recruiting shortfall is mostly due to public sentiment of police officers. And I think most of that is because I think the American population is getting pretty, I don't know, you go on like Audit the Audit, all these like First Amendment auditor type people, you know what I'm talking about. Just constant social media videos of like wrongful death, like this cop messed up, this cop messed up, this cop messed up. And then like when you see the accountability and it's just, six-figure settlement from the city and the taxpayers have to pay that. It's, I think it's like, it's hard to tell the population, look, we're taking your tax money. We're going to give you this department that's going to protect you, make sure that no one takes your right to life, make sure no one takes your right to property. And it's like, it sounds like a good deal. But then the people you are paying to do that does that very same thing to you, and you don't have proper accountability. You're just going to lose the trust of the public. And I think if you increase trust in the public, it's going to increase recruitment, and more people want to actually be police officers, and it'll be just a more positive thing for the society. And also, I would just say police officers get paid a fuck ton of money, and EMTs don't get paid shit. And somehow EMTs can cause wrongful deaths, and they don't have qualified immunity. They have their insurance. So I don't know why you can have.
Are you a former EMT?
I mean, I'm trained. I haven't worked in the field, but.
I was sensing a bit of EMT bitterness. So all right, I hear what you're saying, but I also think that we have to establish logically, at least in my perspective, whether or not we think the roles of a law enforcement officer should exist. Should there be somebody who is vested with the powers of the court, with detention authority, who is capable of enforcing the law? My answer is yes. I don't know what your answer is. Then obviously. Once we get past that hurdle, we have to look at all the things that are required of a law enforcement officer, because they do need to, on a basic level, know how to read and write, know how to research statutes, know how to enforce the traffic, know how to fight, know how to shoot, know how to drive, know how to do first aid, and all that kind of stuff. And you could get higher quality officers, but in your opinion, what you said, I think you said, is that you think cops are already overpaid because they're comparatively well paid compared to EMTs. But I'm telling you, like, the EMTs is a fucking racket. Okay. The way that EMT works is they get a bunch of kids to go to a degree mill community college. They get paid $10 to $15 an hour for 3 or 4 years until they fucking burn out. The only people who make a decent wage as EMTs are managers and administrators. And then effectively, like you said, it's a job where you don't have a lot of protection. Therefore, like, people typically burn out and leave the job very quickly. And so if we made them more like EMTs, the burnout is going to be worse. And then I don't think that, based off of what you said, where you're like, oh, well, the taxpayers keep having to foot the bill for these incompetent douchebags who fuck up society and kill people. And, that's just like morally incorrect. I would say you could get the perfect cop. You're just going to have to pay the perfect cop price.
Like
and so
$1 million
that like making $50,000 a year with $20,000 of overtime is too expensive now. If you actually wanted good cops, that's going to cost you double or triple.
Connor, I was curious, how long did it take you to become a cop? How much training did you go through? And what was the acceptance rate in your area of people who applied versus who actually ended up getting the job?
So 30% of, well, hold on. It took me 3 months, basically 13-week academy. Then I had an additional 13 weeks of FTO. So it's like a 6-month training pipeline, which was fairly common. And then I would say out of my class of 30, probably like 10 or 11 of them didn't get hired. And that being said, though, there is an employment shortfall with Orange County Sheriff's Office, which was in my region. And effectively what happened was my class only had a 2/3 hiring rate, but then every subsequent class, the manpower shortage was so bad because we were like rolling into COVID and stuff, that effectively they hired the entire class. So I would say it's based off of the city and county need.
How does Lethal? How does that compare to your experience getting EMT training?
Oh yeah, it's basically, I would say 95% pass the course, but then to pass the N or EMT, I would say, I mean, I haven't asked every single one of my classmates if they passed, but if I had to guess, probably 70 to 65%, because
about the same.
Yeah, because they actually get to pass the class and to actually get federally like certified is two different things.
Well, and what I would say though is you're never going to find me qualitatively defending like every single cop. I know there's plenty of shitty cops out there, and I also understand that like audit the audit or whatever, or auditing cops or whatever to see if they actually understand the Constitution or laws is probably going to reveal a bunch of bad shit. However, what I would also say is like one of the things that I don't think is calculated is that we are a country of 330 million people. Okay. And there's probably like more than 1 million law enforcement interactions with members of the public. And I think there's like 2,000 law enforcement homicides per year. And like, 80% of them or 90% of them are armed. And so, yeah, like if you see bad body camera footage, 100%, you're going to be able to find it every single year. But then as a statistical aggregate, I think that we have a 5 per 100,000 homicide rate in the United States on average, whereas 2,000 people out of the 20,000 that are killed, that's like 1%. So that is a 0.5 per 100,000 person chance of getting killed by a law enforcement officer. It's not that the job's not important. It's just that if you pay your bills and do your thing and you don't fuck with people, the chances of you getting fucked over are relatively low.
Yeah, I guess I'm just more risk adverse to, I guess, government sanctioned violence.
Well, especially in the cases of these shootings against First Amendment protesters, I think that's what's making this such a hot button issue, is that in these cases, these are people that it feels as if they are being selected as much for their minor law breaking, minor offenses of obstructing officer actions, as much as it is for their opposition in general to these things. And I think that's why we see so many critical eyes on how exactly these happen, what are the policies that led up to it, what are the laws that led up to it. And I think that the conversation should be geared, I think we do have generally the correct laws where, like Connor's saying, we do need to leave room open for police officers to make mistakes and therefore for there to be consequences, but that don't necessarily mean your life is completely destroyed, you're incarcerated, and you lost your job, etc. I think.
And there are things that like haunt me that I've watched that I wasn't even involved in, like the Daniel Shaver shooting. The Daniel Shaver shooting is fucking insane. They effectively make a drunk guy play Simon Says, and then when he doesn't play Simon Says correctly, they blast him. And I'm pretty sure that officer lost his job, and then I'm pretty sure he was reinstated later. Then also,
he's getting paid a $4,000 a month pension for his PTSD of killing us. So he's right now getting paid a month as a reward for killing that dude.
Well, I'm sure. Well, okay. Sorry. Let me just move past something that's not contentious, I suppose. Well, and then Philando Castile as well. I don't know if you guys remember Philando Castile, but Philando Castile was a young black man who was concealed carrying legally who was pulled over under suspicion of being a robbery suspect. And he just notified the cop that he had a concealed weapons permit while he was retrieving the wallet that the police officer asked him to retrieve. And because the cop freaked out and was all worked up over the fact that he was dealing with a robbery suspect, he shot and killed Philando Castile. It was like a totally negligent homicide. And I don't think that guy is on the job anymore. I don't know what criminal prosecution would look like. But effectively, like for that, it's like, yes, I want to open up civil suit. You're not getting Philando back. You're not getting Daniel Shaver back. But if their families were paid $500,000 or $1 million in a wrongful death suit, and then the law enforcement officer was canned from the job, that's already a step in the right direction.
And you might see less of those shootings moving
some
forward.
Of the other policy suggestions I have, I'm telling you, like, if we followed the policy suggestions that I had and we actually instituted them in law, number one, not only would they be more favorable with law enforcement and therefore more likely to be adopted, you could probably chop police homicides in half. And so that's where I get a little bit pissy, and I probably banned you from my chat, Lethal Lance. But I get pissy because it's like, okay, we don't agree on the mechanics of a police shooting and whether or not it's justified or unjustified, but do we want to reduce unnecessary American homicides? And the answer is yes.
I just looked it up. The officer who shot Castile was acquitted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Shaver shooting was because his dad, I think, or his uncle, was pretty high up in the department, so he reinstated him, got him his pension, and then got the fuck out. Now I actually messaged that dude on LinkedIn, but
well, and here's another thing too. I brought this up back in 2020 when we first started debating this stuff in reference to BLM. There's something called the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is effectively like a higher legal standard for military service members while they're in the service. I think there should be like a universal code of law enforcement justice, and we could effectively create a body of laws that apply to law enforcement officers that are specific to the roles and duties of their job, but therefore you could better hold them accountable. But then what those laws look like, we're going to have to fight out, and we're probably not going to agree on 100%.
So Lance,
yeah, my thing was always less about the individual, like grossly negligent, grossly malicious officers, and more the 99% of the officers who protect them, who sweep for them. It's like the accountability culture is my main issue, and the department's protecting bad officers makes the whole department bad. So you turn like those couple thousand shootings, like that's a problem on those couple thousand officers. But then if the whole system is set up to protect them and make sure they don't get any accountability, and you're setting them up for life, getting paid $4,000 a month because they shot a civilian, it's just, that's my biggest problem.
And how do you think we dissect that?
I think I get pissy though. The reason why I get pissy is because I am trying to be descriptive, and there's just like some things that people are wrong on, but they're confidently wrong. So for instance, like Destiny during his debate with that thick MAGA dude, he was saying like, oh, well, these people were never under detention. And as a law enforcement officer, if you're going to put your hands on anybody, then they need to be detained. And he just like said that confidently half a dozen times. That's not even fucking true. Like you can force people to disperse. You see it in riot control situations all the time. And I even went over personal anecdotes of where an arrest was technically warranted. But you can just force someone to disperse instead of putting them in handcuffs. And so that's kind of where like, oftentimes people assume, and I don't do a very good job of dispelling this, but when I'm describing like passive resistance, active resistance, violent resistance without deadly force resistance, and also like imminent threat of death or great bodily harm, I'm describing it mechanically. I agree with it, but kind of like you just said, specifically negligent or malicious cops are not going to be the way that we fix this. You have to fix the mechanics of the situation. So if I explain the mechanics and then people are like, no, fuck you, you're sweeping. And I'm like, no, I'm describing the mechanics and here's how we can change it. But we get lost in Connor is a jackbooted thug sweeping piece of shit who loves sucking on boots for fun.
True.
Then, we can't ever move forward.
Yeah. So I'll cover the Destiny thing real quick. I think his main contention was the level of force needed to disperse. I think, and also whether descriptively he's correct or not lawfully, prescriptively for you, do you think that level of force or dispersion in that specific scenario should be legally allowed, or should we maybe try to limit how much force? Like, I get pushing, shoving, but also considering who you're dealing with.
I'll add to that: is it legally allowed? And then strategically, was it the correct decision?
Yeah. So number one, minimum force necessary is not a law enforcement doctrine, because it's so subjective to kind of make a decision on what is the minimum force necessary, that they've just decided to not even do it because, like, the way that we've had 3 or 4 hour arguments about law enforcement interactions, judges, juries, lawyers, defense attorneys, prosecutors, they've all had days long arguments about these concepts. So they haven't enshrined minimal force necessary as a concept. And then even then, with force, again, I'm being mechanistic in my description, pushing and pepper spray is considered the bottom tier of force. So
but there's levels of pushing, right?
No, well, how are you going to quantify levels of pushing? Like push people gently? And by the way, we could do that. We could train law enforcement officers on different styles and of pushes. But then you're talking about increased training, not decreased training. Also, man, like, I'm just going to be real. Like, there was a time where I was just graduating FTO and a guy got shot right in front of me. Like, he actually just got murdered right in front of me. And so I was ripping through the crowd in order to get to the guy who was shot on the ground. And I was grabbing people by the shoulder and I was flinging them out of the way so I could get to the person who was shot. And right there, like, I wasn't, intentionally trying to throw people 2 or 3 feet away, but I was under adrenaline like a motherfucker because I was in a serious situation. And so at that point, if you say, well, we're going to codify what kind of pushes you can do, well, then at that point, are you opening me up to like criminal incarceration or civil suit for shoving people out of the way when I'm trying to get to somebody in order to render emergency medical aid? Because if
wouldn't you also consider the totality of the circumstance?
Sorry, what's that?
I mean, you would also assess the totality of the circumstances in that situation. Like, rendering emergency aid is different than being pissed off about a Karen.
Sure. Okay. But then let's say, because those Karens, I don't think that you should have been pissed off at because they were standing in the middle of the roadway chatting shit. Whereas there could be another scenario. Let's say that was a highway and not a roadway. Okay. Let's leave everything else the same. Let's say it's a highway. So there's increased traffic and there's increased traffic speed. How would you feel about the officer's action in that scenario?
Well, due to the totality of the circumstances, that would be probably more justified.
Okay. But then my question to you is, because we have the same scenario, but what's changed is the roadway and the traffic. We're giving the officer more latitude because we're saying, like, yeah, he shoved her aggressively, but realistically, these women are taking a risk by being in the roadway of death or injury, and he might want to clear the roadway, which is reasonable. Whereas in this situation, he's not being reasonable because he's just pissed off and it's a slow roadway and there's one car doing 8 miles an hour. So how do you write that law? And then how do you also tell cops, like, hey, don't worry, a judge and a jury or a police accountability board, they're going to be totally reasonable and rational and understand the nature of the job. So when you shove a lady out of a highway because she's at risk of death or injury, but then when you shove her out of a roadway that's like slower with less vehicles, they're going to be able to differentiate those. And then as a result, you will be incarcerated or sued in one scenario, but you won't be incarcerated or sued in another one. And also, how do you train for that?
Well, I would say, one, our courts already handled these levels of stratification of, like, vagueness. Like, we already trust our courts to determine the circumstances and take all the facts of the situation into account and make decisions. Like, we already do that. And I also think
decide if it was reasonable or necessary.
Yes. It's the reasonable standard. And I think this situation is not as vague as you're trying to portray it, which I think 99% of people who can see the whole video and see the whole situation, what's happening, 99% of people are going to say this is not reasonable to approach this woman and push her down because, one, you're not achieving the outcome you even want to achieve. I mean, there's no law enforcement outcome he was actually going to achieve with that action.
Well,
Not
she's out of the street and no longer willing to resist or obstruct.
Well, she was already backing away, and there's also different when there's a different what's the word I'm looking for? If there's a different route you could take to achieve the outcome even better, and I don't know, it's.
Well, hold on. So
I'm
an autist, and I actually have a pretty high IQ that particularly did well in like pattern analysis. Okay, so this is what I'm telling you because this is what I sincerely believe. So if I wrote the lethal lance law, and it said that based off of totality of circumstances doctrine, we're going to judge every use of force, and we're going to use reasonableness as a metric. Blah 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 blah. I think most people are dumb as fuck. I'm just going to be real. I think the average American is stupid as fuck. And so I don't trust them to make quote unquote reasonable judgments about what a law enforcement officer should and shouldn't do. I don't even trust law enforcement officers to make judgments about reasonable judgments about.
If it's civil court, it'll just be lawyers and judges though.
Well, I don't trust lawyers either because they're snakes and vampires. But anyways, so hold on. But let's say that in World 1, we write your law, but we lose, I don't know, 5%, 10% of law enforcement officers. But not only are we losing 5 to 10% of law enforcement officers who want to do the job, but we're losing the best people because they're the smart ones who could get better jobs, who could do other things. And they know, well, fuck, I'm going to go work for $50K a year, make 10 to 20K extra, but I'm going to be working 60, 70-hour weeks. I'm going to be risking my life. And if I fuck up, I could go to jail or prison and or get sued into the ground. Or I can just go work in construction administration, make $80,000 a year, stay in air conditioning, and be home by 5 p.m. every single day. You're going to lose those class of people. And then, but let's just run it hypothetically for a second. So let's say that we lose that 5 to 10% of the law enforcement population and it's your cream of the crop and they leave the profession. So now you have shittier cops. And then let's say as a result of that choice, you actually increase like the deaths of people in your society due to poor law enforcement because people aren't patrolling the right way. They're not taking the job seriously. They're not enforcing the laws. They're allowing people to be more reckless in traffic stuff. And you have a measurable uptick in homicide. Then what I would do is I would still pick the more lax society where more bad cops get off through the system versus the system that you're creating where cops are held perfectly accountable, but we lose the cream of the crop of law enforcement and arguably more people get hurt in society.
Yeah, I guess I just disagree with your read on that situation. I think increased accountability will actually increase recruitment because that's what I said about public sentiment. I think if public sentiment of cops, in my opinion, is like almost at an all-time low. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have more body cameras and more cell phones than ever before. So, I mean, that's.
So I think whatever we could do to increase public sentiment of law enforcement, I think that will be the number one driver of recruitment.
I don't agree at all. I think law enforcement officers basically know they're going to be universally unpopular. I was a cop. I don't even like cops. You know, I say it as a joke, but it's also
true. But like, because whenever do you run into a cop, but when they're
you're
enforcing,
you're in trouble. You were speeding, you were looking at your phone, you weren't wearing your seatbelt, you went through a red light, maybe when you were a teenager, I know like weed's mostly legal now, but maybe you got a little bit of reefer on you, maybe you're doing this, maybe you're doing that, there's a ton of examples where even as like a law-abiding citizen, you don't like cops. And also, even as a cop, I didn't like some of my fellow cops. They were fucking douchebags, right? But I came to value their douchebaggery in certain situations. So for instance, I'll try to be brief about this, but like two of the biggest douchebags I knew who were cops were excellent under pressure. Like foot pursuit, gunfight, clearing a room, vehicle pursuit, whatever, they were like ice cold, like ice water in their fucking veins. But if you talk to them in a normal scenario, they're total fucking douchebags. You know what I'm saying? And so you could have like Officer McFriendly, who's not a douchebag at all, and he has like brilliant community interactions, but then he sucks in a gunfight, or he sucks in a car chase, or he sucks in a foot pursuit. And so like, and that's the other thing too. Sorry that I'm yapping, but one of the things that I realized is that I had weak spots and other cops had weak spots. And what we did as a patrol team,
Cover
is
each other's
we
weak spots.
reinforced each other's weak spots. So developing a single officer who's good at everything is almost impossible. Whereas collating a team of officers who are good at a myriad of jobs who can back each other up is infinitely more likely. So yeah, that's where I just feel like there's the ideal that you're pursuing, there's reality, and then there's like the measurable impact between my reality and your proposed reality.
I guess I'll have my final statement here and I'll head out. But what I'll say is what I think will increase recruitment and retainment of police officers. I think the culture has to change. And I say this from personal experience because I was a Marine for 5 years. And the reason I got the fuck out is because of fucking 8 times out of 10, a staff NCO is the type of people who would stay in are not the type of people you want to stay in. Like it attracts a type of person who just loves power, loves exercising that power unfairly on people. Like it's like very attractive to these types.
I don't know how
And
you ever get
people who
around
want-
that though.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been in a.
It's the culture.
Well, hold
I don't
on,
think it's
though,
just
but
the culture,
you're
it's
talking
the
about
job.
reforming that culture. I'm telling you, I've changed jobs every 4 years. I've worked in private sector. I've worked in public sector. That's been true of every industry and every job I've ever been a part of. Like the most sociopathic, power-hungry, narcissistic douchebags climb to the top. And then the people who are middle managers or competent employees, sometimes they're punished for their competence. Sometimes they're punished for their reasonableness because their reasonableness is inconvenient to the psychopaths or sociopaths. And dude, I love Steven. I love Destiny. I think Destiny would admit himself that he's a functional sociopath. So like you have to understand that like just no private, public, tons of money, no money, garbage collector, dog catcher, CEO, it doesn't matter. The sociopaths rise to the top. That's why the system matters more than the person.
Yes, but there's structures in the actual organization. Like if I could go to an officer and like they tell you can do this, but you really can't. You'll be ostracized. You'll be treated very unfairly. But if I actually could go to an officer, be like, hey, this FNCO is treating me unfairly in this situation. Like this is why he's fucked up, and they actually like did some shit, and you weren't treated poorly because of that. If they could change that type of culture where it's like, hey, we'll hold the higher you up, the more they should be. The more responsibility you have and the more accountability you have. But it's really the opposite. Like all the accountability gets put on the lower levels. They leave because they don't want to deal with that shit. And all the people who you don't want to stay, they're the ones who stay, and they kind of like breed the culture. And that's kind of the whole problem.
But I mean, similar to the Marine Corps, though, I think it's a mix. And so, for instance, like, trust me, every single criticism you have of like staff Marine Corps officers, especially, shit, I could tell you some stories. But anyways, the point is that, but there were good staff NCOs. There were the guys who would train you how to do McMap, or they would teach you some extra cool shit about firearms, or they would take you aside and show you some room clearing shit that they learned when they were with recon, or they would tell you some cool war stories, or they would take the boys out for beers and they would like make sure everybody was safe while still, letting the 20-year-old kid sneak in a few beers. There were good staff NCOs too. And so, I mean, that's the same thing with law enforcement, where I agree with you that the propensity is that it attracts and retains oftentimes power-hungry, administrative, vampiric douchebags, and I agree with that. However, I also do think that there are, the same way that there were a few good Marine staff NCOs who were in it for the right reason, there were also good cops who were, I mean, those are my heroes, like my fucking hero.
Yeah. I guess my only thing is that I want to increase that percentage, though. I just want to increase the ratio. I want more gunny hoovers. I need more good gunnies. And I think the only way you do that is you make it attractive for those type of people to stay, because you, like,
Well,
I don't know.
weirdly enough, the qualitative metrics that you would need to increase, though, in my opinion, it would be like a annual physical fitness test and like an annual marksmanship test that was actually difficult, and a
More
not
paid
difficult,
training.
but challenging. It would come in the training. And what happens too, because this is the other aspect that you might be missing, is that everybody wants better cops. Nobody wants to pay for better cops. Okay. Because the reason why a lot of cops don't PT unless they do it on their own time, and because they have like a personal fitness guru thing, or they have a personal fitness goal, is because they're not paid to work out. And nobody wants to pay them to work out because they could get injured while they're working out. And if they're getting paid while they're working out, which fitness is a part of their job, then they get, like disability while they're injured from working out. And then it's the same thing with defensive tactics, which is like, grappling, wrestling, fighting, all that kind of stuff. I went to a really good academy that did really good defensive tactics. But the reason why it goes to all book work as soon as you're with a police department is because a city or a county doesn't want to pay their employees to do martial arts, because martial arts is an opportunity to get injured, and an opportunity to get injured is an opportunity to pay out disability. So it's all about liability, and it's all about cost. And so you, Lethal Lance, I believe you to be a earnest person. You probably do want the best cops on the planet. However, I'm telling you, if there's an ordinance that actually comes across your thing and it's like increase property taxes by 5% and you'll have the world's best cops, I guarantee you that you'll be like one of the few people who actually vote for it, because everybody else is going to say, nah, fuck that. I already pay enough in taxes.
Yeah, I guess my only thing would be like, you can keep your pay. I mean, where I'm from, cops are getting paid 6 figures. Pretty chill. You got pretty good
but
hours.
Are you in New York or some shit? Where are you?
No, Vancouver, Washington.
That's pretty expensive.
It's Pacific Northwest.
It's right across from Portland. It's right across from
pretty
Portland.
damn cheap. Pretty damn cheap for a 6-figure salary. God damn.
Yeah, but
Especially if you go
also,
across the river and you
is
buy all
that
your stuff
starting,
in
or is that
Portland,
with
there's
OT?
no sales tax.
You said what
Is
now?
that their starting salary, or is that with overtime?
No, starting is about 90,000, and then once you get a year in, I think you graduate up.
Well, and I mean that I got a friend in Colorado who just started at like 85 or some shit. So
Yeah, it's
I'm
crazy.
sure.
I think 80,000
sure.
sounds like a lot more than it used to be. I don't know if I'm showing my age, but 80,000 when I was young sounded like an incredible amount of money, and now that I'm an adult and with costs and a family and such,
dude, if you have kids, 80,000 is surviving.
I resent that because I survive on 30 with 3 people, but that's just because I'm a genius at poverty foo. Yeah, I'm out here fucking living for real, dude. I'm in a basement. I live in a basement with 3 people. Okay, it's hard out here. Okay.
All right.
How much I shit talk cops is literally like my number 3 like profession I'm looking at getting into, just because of the benefits. And like, I'm a fit guy. I'm ex-military. Like it just fits. Okay, it just is like the most obvious way to go.
I was making a joke, but I didn't want to be a dick and actually piss you off. It sounds like you kind of want to be a cop. You know what I'm saying? You're like,
you wish you could. You wish you.
EMTs get paid like shit. These cops are making a criminal amount of money. They're in a place that doesn't have that high cost of living. It kind of sounds like you want to be a cop.
And the only thing stopping me
is the culture
and their attitudes.
Oh no,
yes, the culture is terrible. You guys suck. I hate it.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
Oh, you got plenty of time. Stop being a pussy. Go do it.
Yep.
Go
change the culture. Go change the culture.
I will. I'll be the one singular.
I thought about it. I'm a far left guy, and I thought about it too. I thought about
I'll make my department the most accountable department in the fucking city, fucking country.
Yeah, but seriously, man, like, prove me wrong, okay? Do you understand how much I would love to be proven wrong? And what I mean by that is there was this guy. It was a while ago. This was like 10 years ago. There was a guy who was selling CDs outside of a gas station, and he was accused of aggravated assault. He pulled a pistol on another guy. And then what happened was, when they showed up to bust him, he was selling CDs on the side of the road, and they got into a scuffle with the cop, and they were wrestling but they were actually wrestling over the gun in the guy's pants. And so the cop pinned the gun that the guy was going for and shot the guy in the chest. And people were arguing that it was a bad shoot. And I had a friend from high school who was like, oh, I was in Greco-Roman wrestling and I could have gotten that gun and that cop's a pussy and this, that, the other. And I was like, okay, go do it then, man. Go fucking do it. Like, show us how it's done. Go be Captain America. It'll be fucking amazing. And so Lethal Lance, that I'm not trying to use that level of sarcastic or negative energy, but I want you to prove me wrong. I want you to go be a fucking cop and then be like, hey man, this shit's a fucking breeze. I karate chopped a fucking gun out of somebody's hand the other day. I'm the best cop that's ever existed. I'm the nicest guy on the planet.
It's definitely one of the hardest jobs to do, but also you got half the country sucking your dick. Blue Lives Matter. So, I mean, there's definitely benefits to it.
1/6 of the country.
Yeah, then you've got the other half screaming at you. So, that's a coin toss on that one.
You're fucking Nazis who just like wake up and plan on how to shoot people of color.
Yeah, and then you gotta change your mind by being a good person and not running up to Karens and shoving them and then shooting that guy 20 million times because
I did that though. There were plenty of Karens that I could have shoved. There are plenty of people that I could have incarcerated
you didn't because you're good,
and I didn't. I exercised my patience and my judgment, but I also understood the superhuman amount of willpower that it takes, dude. Here's the thing. I know. Indulge me one more anecdote, please. Yeah. When somebody is rude to you and you're out of uniform, number one, typically they're not that rude to you because they know they can get the fuck kicked out of them, really. So most people are not that rude unless you're like a server or a bartender, which I absolutely was in the past. So except for retail and restaurant, most people are not rude to other people. But because you're a cop and because people expect a higher expectation out of you, and because you have a body camera and because they have friends who have cell phone videos, they will talk shit to you in a way that if you were not wearing the badge and the belt, it would start a fucking fist fight. And you just kind of have to sit there and just be like, hey man, that's cool, but the bar's closed. You need to fuck off. Get out of here. Right. And you just kind of have to keep that energy the whole time in order to get them out of there. And so the whole point is kind of like, once you have that, basically rhetorically, somebody is just like pressing an index finger into your forehead 10,000 times, eventually you want to lose your shit. And the best cops don't lose their shit. And I praise them and I love them for that. However, when I see a cop lose his shit, I'm also like, yeah, I thought about that too. There was somebody who was talking crazy shit to me. They didn't think they could get arrested. They needed to leave a bar. They were choosing not to leave a bar. I told him to fuck off. I had to tell him to fuck off 10,000 times politely without the F word in the middle of it. And then it almost started a fist fight. But because I was patient, we didn't have to go to a fist fight. But at the same time,
I never said
you better believe that I was thinking about punching that motherfucker in the throat the entire time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I never said it's not understandable. I'm just going to say it should be unacceptable. It's understandable, should be unacceptable. And I know how it feels like to get your finger pushing your forehead every single fucking day because I fucking did that for 5 years in the Marine Corps. My staff NCOs basically were the fucking civilian talking shit and doing all this shit, pushing you. Yeah, that was like basically my staff NCOs in my experience. But and I guess what? But hold on. I forgot that you're a Marine, so now I can communicate this to you in an even better way. Okay, so imagine like boot camp where you have to stand at the position of attention where people are just like chewing your ass out and doing knife hands and screaming at you and this, that, the other. But imagine that if they do the wrong thing, then you can pepper spray them in the face. Like it changes the calculation a little bit, right? Because you can't punch your drill instructor, right? But if somebody swings on you, bro,
then you can pepper spray him.
I couldn't join the Marine Corps. I would have punched my drill instructors, bro.
Well, right, but bro, all right. But what I'm trying to communicate is that like the calculus changes because you should not beat up Karens, but if a shoplifter takes a swing at you, if a guy beats the fuck out of his girlfriend and charges you, if he's beating on a Karen, then it's your job to put him on the ground. Now, ideally, you should be as nice as you can be. Put him on the ground gently. Don't beat the fuck out of him. Put him into handcuffs and dust him off and say, wow, that was bad. Let's chill the fuck out now. But at the same time, like, that's what I'm saying is like, you're kind of like, I don't know how you feel about the Marine Corps, but I felt like I was a pit bull that just got like poked with a stick a whole bunch, but I was never allowed outside of the cage. Whereas a law enforcement officer, I was let outside of the cage, but I still had to be on a leash.
I think law enforcement officers, I like the occupation of law enforcement. It should be for exceptional men, but I think it's mostly filled with unexceptionable boys, in my opinion. That's like what my read on it. And we need to start filtering out the boys and start trying to recruit more of the men, because I think they're out there. And in my opinion,
you're
I'll
one of
end
them,
on
bud.
this. Oh yeah, but
you're one of them, bud. You keep talking shit on the sidelines. Go do it. Make me proud.
Well, if I can't fight the
What's that?
We lost you a little bit.
sorry. This, I guess I'll go try to change my city department's culture, but I'm going to keep pushing for ex-cops and current cops to embrace more of an accountability culture, because I always felt I was held more accountable in the Marine Corps showing up to the chow hall in PT clothes than cops get held accountable for shooting citizens in the face. I always thought that was a little bit of weird. I like your idea of using the UCMJ for cops, having like a cop equivalent. That's a policy position I would hold. And yeah, I guess that's where I'll end it. Accountability based.
Beautiful.
I'll unban you, Doobie, and Tagarung when I get around to it, and then we can fight some more in a couple of months, and then I'll ban you again.
You banned Doobie? What was that over?
Excellent.
Did Destiny give you $15 and $101 to do it?
No. Doobie was being a douche. He was saying, "Oh, this reminds me of the time that Connor was telling me that he liked to abuse prisoners," and I was like, "Bitch, I already told you that story fucking 3 times. Stop being a see you next Tuesday," and then I banned him.
Lethal, thank you so much
I'll
for
unban
coming
him
on.
eventually. But Lethal,
thank you. Do I get Grift coin?
Absolutely.
I think you should probably get a little bit at least.
What are we thinking, Connor? What did he earn?
Oh, he earned easily 500 or 750.
500 or 750?
Can I get 6 or 7?
757?
Give him 6 or 7.
670?
Give him 670.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for calling into the marketplace of ideas, my friend. Thanks for the call.
Oh, well, I lost my camera on
we had
a conversation that I'm so bummed, because this is something I've actually been thinking about, is like cops and how much they get paid and what are some ways to increase the
where should the accountability line be? Yeah, and I've been thinking that I think that cops should be paid very well in order to eliminate outside of the job stress. I want cops when they clock on, when they hit the beat or whatever, to be as absent-minded regarding their private life as possible. They know that their family's taken care of, their kids are fed, and they've got access to good schools, and everything in that aspect of their life is going more or less right as money can make it anyway.
Yeah, I think it's just that the passion for police brutality absolutely exists, but oftentimes it's not even in our municipality. So, for instance, like ICE, ICE, those guys, CBP, those guys are federal. So we obviously should push for reforms at that level. But when you talk about Daniel Shaver, that's in a totally different state. When you talk about Philando Castile, that's in a totally different state. And oftentimes it's kind of the same thing with like your congressman. Like Congress as a whole has like 5% approval, right? But when you ask people about their congressman has like 70% approval. And so it's this thing where, once again, like if you ask about cops in general, oh, all cops suck. They're power hungry douchebags. They should all kill themselves. They're fucking evil. They're Nazi Gestapo. And then you're like, oh, how do you feel about, Officer McFriendly over in Orlando Police Department? They're like, oh, he's a great guy. We go get coffee sometimes. We talk shit. He's one of the good ones.
They deliver toys at Christmas.
Right. So that's where the opportunity for reform, that window is very limited. Although I actually do think, I hope Lethal Lance takes me up on my challenge. I hope he joins law enforcement and actually, he rubs it in my face and he's like, this shit's for babies.
That would be epic. That would be epic. If he just goes in there and like completely reorients his local police towards justice and freedom and treating people
as a betting man. as a betting man,
Rainbows and sunshine everywhere.
No, dude, I would expect a Discord call a year and a half from now and him being like, "You were so fucking right. I want to beat the fuck out of so many Karens. I am on the verge of psychologically.
I'm calling you from jail.
Right.
I need a good lawyer.
But we have hit midnight. So
yes, yep.
Number one, I had a blast. Number two,
thank you so much for coming on.
Basically facilitated a community call-in night, which we have been talking about doing in the COG community for a while. So not only did we make 3 hours worth of content, but you guys actually helped me achieve something that I've been talking about for like months.
Well, what a mutually beneficial arrangement.
Yeah. So I probably can't commit to it weekly, but basically if there was hot content that you guys wanted to review as a group, I wouldn't mind doing it like an EFAP or a Sitch and Adams scenario kind of thing. Obviously I know you guys are trying to like nail down a formula and rotate guests and all that kind of stuff.
I think we did it. I think we nailed this formula tonight. I don't think there were any problems. We had so much more planned, sir. But the best laid plans.
I told you, keep it simple, right?
Yep.
Keep it simple. And
yes,
don't
sir.
Let be
yes,
be the
sir.
Enemy of great. Don't let great be the enemy of good. Don't let good be the enemy of done.
I think this was good, and I think it's beautiful. We're gonna have to schedule the gubernatorial elections next month. And yeah, it would be.
I think we'd absolutely. For Valentine's Day.
What a great time for it. Yeah, we'd love to have you on anytime we can. Maybe we can shoot for every other week or something like that. We'll see what happens.
Sure. If I show up every Monday, then eventually Prime Kai is gonna be like, "What the fuck, bro?" So like, we gotta rotate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's fun.
Let's see. I had some interview questions here, for just to end it.
Try and get the best one so that we maximize the final minute that we've got with Connor here.
All right. If you could make any fictional person the president of the United States, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that is a really, really good one. I think if I could take Harrison Ford from all of his movies where he either plays Jack Ryan or the president of the United States, like Air Force One, then that would have to be it. Like, he looks presidential, he talks great, he can kill people with his bare hands. He gets
that's high up on your list for presidents. He needs to be able to take someone on in physical combat.
The guy can. I mean, like, he forecasts his punch for like 5 seconds and he still hits him in the face. Like, that's a good fighter, right?
That's mind control.
Yeah. So
that's damn near mind control.
Harrison Ford from not India, although I guess a little bit of Indiana Jones, but realistically,
got the
Harrison
whip.
Ford from any of the Jack Ryan, Tom Clancy movies. Harrison Ford from Air Force One, and then I also think, there was somebody. It's right on the tip of my tongue. I need to think for a second, but it's right there. Oh, the president from Independence Day, obviously.
Oh yeah, Bill Paxton, was that?
I don't think it was Bill Paxton. I think the actor has a different name, but he still gives that corny but amazing speech 3/4 through the movie.
Oh yeah.
He's a fighter pilot who fights aliens in a conventional fighter jet. I think that and then also, what the funny thing about that entire movie, I think it was released in like 97 or 98 or something like that. So it was before
96. Bill Pullman.
Right. And the whole thing, Bill Pullman, Fitzimo just confirmed that. But the whole thing with that character was he was being shit talked before the aliens arrived, and they're like, they elected a warrior and they got a wimp. And
I
think that's who we need. Like, we need somebody who's like hardcore enough to do hardcore shit, but diplomatic enough to actually balance things out. And so we need Bill Pullman from Independence Day.
What a great president he would make. I will say the music from that speech was a partial inspiration for the intro music to this show. So
nice.
Shout out to that movie. It is now past midnight. Connor, thank you so much for joining the first episode of the Marketplace of Ideas. We look forward to having you back in the near future.
Everyone,
My
thanks for
pleasure.
joining
And
us
then,
tonight.
Do you want to? I'll plug the Discord one more time. Do you, just in case there were any stragglers who came in later? Do you just want to share what we kind of did tonight and what your guys' aims are in online politics in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, James. Why don't you take the lead on this since you have a face that's visible?
Oh yeah, what a great idea. Well, we are the marketplace of ideas. We're trying to create a space where people can come together and have fun, discuss things. We want to elevate the debate space with both better faith and better fun. Not just good faith, but good fun. And ideally, seeing each other through our differences while still screaming slurs at each other.
Perfect.
We've got games that we're organizing. We've got a lot of fun things here to come, and hopefully those will materialize as we suck less with technology.
Awesome.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Connor.
My sincere pleasure. Looking forward to the next one. I'm going to go hang out with chat for a second, and then I'm going to dip out myself.
That sounds beautiful.
All right. Good night, guys. Bye.
Have a good night.
Thank you, neighbor. All right, Kyle. Shall we just sign out then? Do we have anything else we'd like to cover?
I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, my goodness. All in all, I'd say a pretty damn good first episode, despite the technical difficulties and the mechanical ones. It would seem that your backdrop could not make it until the very end of the episode.
It couldn't have been more better time. Beautiful. The show is literally falling apart on air. Literally falling apart on air. What better? Wait, what better? You know what? Thank you for coming, anybody that came, except for that one guy that talked about gooning.
Brinkman, yeah.
Brinkman, what a
sure
terrible call. Disavow completely. I sure hope we never see from Brinkman again. You know what? Thanks, everyone, for coming to the Marketplace of Ideas. Or not coming.